and fellow receiver Tyler Lockett. That was an expected move. Now, the Seahawks are upset that the news of Metcalf's trade request was leaked on a day the organization was celebrating Lockett's 10-year career in Seattle, according to that source. Source also said the team will explore a Metcalf trade, adding, quote, "We will do what's best for the Seahawks."
Snapshot, brought to you by Miller Lite. When it's game time, it's Miller time.
This hour is brought to you by Legacy Group Capital Common Sense Lending.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, this is Wyman and Bob.
On Seattle Sports.
Streaming live on the Seattle Sports app and at seattlesports.com.
Now, here are your hosts, Dave Wyman and Bob Stelton.
Welcome, everybody. It's Wyman and Bob live in Peoria, Arizona, side of the Mariners Spring Training Facility. It's a beautiful day out here. Seattle Sports on 710, seattlesports.com, by the way. Got a big show coming your way, coming up at 3 p.m. Bryan Woo will join us on the program. Great conversation with Bryan. We'll have our guy Jon Morosi at 4 p.m. We're done early today, 5 p.m., because the Mariners will be taking on the Royals, which you'll hear every bit of that game starting at 5 p.m., so stay tuned for that. We'll also hopefully catch up with George Kirby, talk to him in the clubhouse, and said he would come and join us somewhere around 4:30, depending when he gets done with his workout, and touching base with a few different players out here. So we'll see who's going to be able to ultimately come out and join us. But the big news today centers around the Seahawks, Dave. And the news came out that Tyler Lockett, in a move that we expected, unfortunately it now is real, that they release him. And that frees up about $17 million in cap space. So they have roughly around $32 million in cap space as we sit here, give or take. But unfortunately, that news was sort of overtaken by the news that DK Metcalf has requested a trade after apparently a couple weeks of talks with the organization. Now, what those entailed, we don't know what he wanted. Was this over money? Was this over maybe they want him to play out the final year and he wanted to extend? I mean, who knows what happened behind the scenes? But the timing of this is really poor, to say the very least.
Yeah, that's very. Use the word disappointing. And surprised, really. But everything that I've come to know about DK Metcalf and, just having talked to him on the road and just the way he is very respectful and how he seemed to be very self-aware and things like that. So, we'll see how this thing shakes out. But it's incredibly disappointing that comes out at a time, like within a half an hour of Tyler Lockett being, released. And, you assume that was entirely amicable transaction there. And I think a lot of people are thinking, hey, probably he wants to keep playing. And at least that's what I think.
Oh, it seems like he's made that clear.
And then also that, maybe it's going to be with the Raiders and maybe with Pete Carroll. But, just a time to reflect on his awesome career. And then the DK news comes out. So just poor timing. And I think, DK, very polarizing guy. And we've talked about him and Geno most of the offseason. And that's, I just never thought that it would play out this way. I'm very surprised.
Yeah, it was incredibly surprising because you and I have been staunch defenders of DK. We've seen him do some really cool things unprompted with some of the kids out at training camp and some of the special needs kids watching him interact. And we were talking to Justin, and he was talking about another time he saw pull a little kid out who was over on the other side of the fence onto the field, kneels down signing for it. Just we've seen very gracious moments with him, and we've talked to him a few times over the years. He's been great, which is why we've been defenders of his. But the timing of this move certainly gives ammo to those that feel like he's a diva or he's not the great guy you think he is, or I don't think this makes him a bad guy. I think it's tone deaf, and I would put that on his reps. I don't think he was personally putting it out there. I think his reps are the ones obviously speaking to Adam Schefter or, getting it out there. So I would say that was an incredibly tone deaf move on their part. And maybe they didn't know the Tyler news was coming out. Maybe those wheels were set in motion before it came out. I don't know how all that stuff works, to be honest. So maybe they said, hey, don't say anything until tomorrow, midday or whatever. Who knows? But the timing of it from the outside just looks bad.
Yeah, and we talked about all the things that we know about DK. You mentioned those things. Just interviewing him down on the field and him calling me sir, and just very self-aware. You hear the fact that he talks about, oh, these are things that I have to work on, and some of it was like psychological things, about his anger and controlling that and stuff, and just seemed like such a. And then the other thing is on the field. He's 6'4", 235 pounds. I mean, he's just a monster, and there's not a lot of receivers like him. But, I was just having a discussion with Ryan Divish, and we'll talk to him at some point down here. But, he was talking about how sometimes the players, you would think, I mean, he's got a dad who played in the NFL, Terrence Metcalf, and, he's got lots of good people around him. He's got a guy like Tyler Lockett that he's been able to talk to, throughout his entire career, and maybe they just start listening to different people and different voices. But, we'll find out more about this, but just what we have to go with right now, it just looks tremendously bad, and it's surprising to me. Very disappointing, but mostly it's surprising.
Yeah, so, I mean, moving on from that, there's no way in defending that timing. Whatever heat comes his way for that is well-earned, in my opinion. But looking at the mechanics of it or the business of it, what does this do? What is this? Because that being out there publicly, my first reaction is, well, take some of the leverage away from the team, because now every other team in the league knows he wants out. Seahawks aren't going to want a disgruntled player, so they're going to offer less than maybe they otherwise would have had the Seahawks been able to present it as, hey, we don't want to give this guy up. You want to make us an offer, go ahead, but we love him here. He's going to be a big part of it. Selling it that way, you're going to induce a bigger offer, presumably, but now this is out there, so now every other team is going, well, they got to get rid of him now. He doesn't want to be there. So what are we looking at as a return on him now?
Well, and we talked about that yesterday. Like, we went through second and third round draft choices. It was a fifth rounder that Deebo Samuel got traded for. I don't think they're necessarily on the same level, but pretty close. I mean, Deebo's not as big, and he's probably more versatile, but, I think DK is more of a prime-time player. But, now all of a sudden you're not sure what you're going to get. And like we talked about, would you take this guy? Would you take that guy? I mean, you look at the second, third, fourth, and fifth rounders especially. I mean, every once in a while you run into a guy like Richard Sherman in the fifth round, but then there's Thurald Simon, and then there's all kinds of different, and it's always less than what you think. And you're right. Also, as far as the leverage goes, I mean, if you're trading him at a time where he's on the top of his game and he loves Seattle and all that, the Seahawks are going to be like, oh no, we're going to need more than that. Otherwise, we'll keep him. Well, now he doesn't want to be here.
You want that team to feel like they're prying him away from you.
Yeah. So, and I'm also, it's kind of interesting. I mean, I guess I can see the disgruntlement because there were a few times last year, and where I was like, why aren't they? I would see him singled up. There's not a safety over the top. Why not throw him the ball? And sometimes they did, but for the most part, there was too many times where I thought they didn't. And you could see the disappointment in him after his body language after he would run the route. And I don't care if he looks like he's covered. Throw the ball up to him. He's going to win that battle. And, and I don't know, maybe another thing is that he's looking at this new offense and, what he perceives them to be as far as, are they going to throw it up for him, or is it going to be more about running the ball? Maybe that's an indication as well, because that's the one thing that, they really wanted to get better at running the ball this year, and maybe that means less opportunities for him. But, with Tyler retiring, and you got
he's not retiring.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
he's moving.
He was
on.
released.
I mean, he's not. He got released by the Seahawks, but and I don't think he's going to be retired.
He seemed to make it clear even at the end of the season he still wants to play.
He likes to play. So and I applaud that. Right?
Yeah,
it's
I
no
know.
good on the outside.
You'd be playing today if they would let you.
So yeah, I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe there was something with that he looked at what the new offense was going to bring for him, and not as many opportunities, and so yeah, we'll see how this plays out over the next few weeks. But really, I don't want to say it was shocking, because we talked a lot about that, and I just thought it wouldn't happen. But the two players that have dominated the airtime, at least on this show, is Geno and DK. And I feel pretty good about Geno, but we don't really know. But the DK thing, it's definitely, and especially the timing on it.
Yeah, I'm wondering what the Seahawks are going to do, because I was, reading from Brady Henderson's article on ESPN.com, and he was saying the sources were saying the Seahawks were mad about the timing of this, and that DK had requested they trade him to a contender. I think some people took that part as him not viewing Seattle as a contender. I took it as, hey, I want to be traded, and if you could trade me to a contender, don't trade me to the Browns, don't trade me to Jacksonville, trade me to somebody who can. I don't think that was commentary on the Seahawks not being a contender.
Yeah.
I took it as, I want to be gone. If you can work it out that I go to a team that's going to be contending rather than Jacksonville again. That's how I took it. But
well, and I'm not sure what kind of control he has.
I don't think he's got any. I think it was a hope.
I don't think so either. And, that's just he's asking for that. But the Seahawks obviously going to take, whether it's the Browns or somebody else, they're going to take whatever they're going to get the best in return.
Or in their comment in Brady's article was that we will do what's best for the Seahawks, which sounds like, yeah, it's great. If it's a contender, lucky you. If not, we're going with the best deal.
Right.
Which is,
well, maybe the best for the Seahawks at the end of the day is to keep him. And, but I don't know how that's going to.
Does this seem like a bridge too far?
Yeah, it does right now, especially, having heard that. So, yeah, and it's just very disappointing. I think a lot of people are going to be happy. It's based on what we get as far as texts, right? I mean, there's a lot of people that think DK is that diva, and I got to say, especially the timing of that, and maybe he comes out and says, hey, I didn't mean it to be this way, and it wasn't my fault or whatever, but I get a sense that the Seahawks not thrilled about it. Not thrilled about the timing.
Yeah, according to Brady's article, the source said the team not happy about the timing of it. They did apparently. Metcalf's agent did not respond to a request for comment from ESPN, so his agents aren't talking. I don't know if they feel like, oh man, we screwed this up. Who knows? But we'll talk more about that. But let's talk about Tyler Lockett, a guy who deserves the attention, who deserves the accolades, who deserves the praise. You and I were talking a bunch about him before the show today, and always felt protective of Tyler. When people had texted, "Oh, he's soft. He goes down. He didn't get that extra yard or two." And I'm thinking, shut up. This guy is the second best receiver in the history of this organization in terms of his production. He's one of the great guys, great people in the history of this organization. And we'll talk to John Schneider about this tomorrow. But I've got to feel like, this had to be tough for John. John, I think, gets attached to some of these guys, and this is one of his great success stories. They moved up in the draft to get Tyler, and absolutely hit a home run with him.
In the third round, he's a third rounder, and we talked about that. What are you going to get in reply as exchange for DK Metcalf? And yeah, that's a really good one. Excuse me, but yeah, I mean, and I thought they talked about 10 years with the same team. The only people that have been able to do that are KJ, Bobby, and Russell Wilson. And Lockett talked about that and how important that was to him. So, and then Geno had some really nice things to say. And then, the other thing, Geno said something about, this goes back to college when I played against Tyler Lockett, and I looked up in 2012 when Geno was at West Virginia. They played Kansas State, who was 11-2 that year. But Tyler had 9 catches for 194 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 kickoff returns for 64 yards. But I was trying to think, okay, when you close your eyes and think about Tyler Lockett, what are some of the plays? I'll put this one out there first, just because it's very much like anytime Walter Jones got beat for a sack, you just were like surprised by that, and that's a compliment, of course, to the player. And I remember Tyler dropping a pass against Miami in 2020, and sorry to bring that up, Tyler, but it just was so rare.
Yeah.
You never saw him drop a pass. So, but you talk about the toe tap catch in 2019 against the Rams, that touchdown, which just was ridiculous. I think Rabel said he's got eyeballs in his toenails or something like that. And then he had the forearm catch. And I believe that was a game against San Francisco that was played in Arizona in 2020. And the ball hit him in the forearm. And I remember him saying, that hurt.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it was in the back. It was a bullet. It was in the back of the end zone. And a lot of velocity on that ball, and he's able to catch it somehow. Just incredible. It was like he was able to slow the game down in his mind. So, yeah, and what you were talking about with as far as Tyler not, going down, that's what we wanted him to do. He is not a big guy. You don't want him taking the beating. And, he had that broken leg, I think, which was ugly. Was that his first or second year?
I think his second year.
Yeah, but, I mean, and he was a Pro Bowler early on as far as a special teams guy. So, and all of that is without talking about what a gem he is as a person.
Yeah.
Just a great leader and a guy that never changed from his rookie year to his last year in the league. Just a great human being, and wherever he goes, I'm going to be rooting for him.
100%. I hope he goes where he wants to go. I hope he gets a chance to compete for another title. If he reunites with Pete Carroll, I will be rooting for those two. They've been nothing but tremendous assets and brought glory to this organization. So Tyler Lockett deserves every accolade, every positive response, every tribute he gets. Cool one from Russell Wilson. He retweeted Tyler's tweet and said, "Best toe tapper in the world. Love you, T-Lock." And Tyler tweeted out there, if you guys didn't see it, he said, "I really enjoyed being in Seattle. I met so many great people and captured so many great memories. The 12s really make this place meaningful. Although my time with the Seahawks may have run its course, I'm thankful for everything, and God gets the glory forever." And he's got a picture of that toe tap against the Rams.
Beautiful.
I mean, that's that. Look at the feet. I mean, that's so ridiculous.
Yeah, just type into your Google machine, toe tap catch Tyler Lockett. And he had a number of those.
The only problem with this picture is the uniform he's wearing.
Yeah,
he's wearing the highlighter, the action green.
Well, I mean, maybe that helped them identify that his feet were in, because of the bright green. But, yeah, Gino, I found the quote, and he said, we'd be here all day talking about Tyler Lockett, if you were just talking about all the attributes. He means so much to me just to see an NFL player of his caliber to have the humble demeanor that he has and the selflessness that he has, and just the way that, a 1,000-yard receiver consistently, just the consistency that he's shown and the leadership that he's given to DK and Jackson Smith and Jigba and all those guys in the room, it does not go unnoticed. And he's also one of Gino's best friends. And I think, he's one of those guys that if you ask a lot of people on the team, they'll say, yeah, he's my best friend.
Yeah.
He's just one of those guys. And, I remember interviewing him when he was a rookie, and in his second year, we thought, you think he's going to be like this in his 8th or 9th or 10th year? I think we all said, yeah, I think he will. And just a very genuine person, and wish him nothing but the best.
Yeah, good tweet from Mina Kimes here. It said, "Kind of incredible that between Doug Baldwin and Tyler Lockett, the Seahawks had arguably the two most underrated receivers of their respective generations. Feel fortunate to have watched both for so long." Yeah. Well, I think she's 100% right. I mean, Doug Baldwin was an absolute gem, a stud, and I thought Tyler assumed that role after Doug left. He became, Doug was always Russ's security blanket. We talked about it 8 million times. When the play fell apart and Russ is scrambling for his life, there was Doug.
When in doubt, throw to Doug.
He would find a way to get open.
Yeah.
And he moves on. He calls it a career, and that became Tyler almost immediately. Just, all right, play falls apart. Russ is looking for somebody. Get rid of the ball. Boom. There's Tyler, and all of a sudden he's got 5 yards of separation.
Yeah, and those two had kind of a funny relationship. I remember
yeah.
When he was a younger guy, Doug Baldwin, would always say, "Well, I try to tell Tyler things, but he doesn't listen to me."
Yeah.
And they joke back and forth. But just a great, and he's soon to be a dad. He's got a family now, so. Just a special guy, a really special person, a special player, as Gino said. So, yeah, I'm gonna really miss him. But I think we all saw this coming.
Yeah. You knew it was coming, but even when it happens, you're like, oh, that's such a bummer, a bummer. So we'll certainly talk more about what's going on with the Seahawks. But right now, let's take two.
There are some huge contracts that handed out today around the NFL. So the Raiders give Max Crosby a 3-year, $106 million extension, $91.5 million guaranteed. That makes him the highest paid non-quarterback of all time. Then the Eagles re-signed one of their key players, Zach Bond, to a 3-year, $51 million deal, $34 million guaranteed.
Yeah, Max with 2 X's, by the way. I don't know if you do that. But he's only 27 years old. And this is a guy who's had seasons of 12.5 sacks, 14.5 sacks. He was banged up last year, played 12 games, but had 7.5 sacks. So he's a machine. He's had double-digit sacks in 3 of his 6 seasons, and one of the premier guys out there. So I guess that's what it costs.
Really good pass rusher. And then the Zach Bond signing, they re-signed him to he's $17 million a year, basically a $51 million deal, $34 million. So 2/3 of the contract is guaranteed. That guy came on in the playoffs and made all kinds of plays. He's a off-the-ball linebacker. So I don't know. Does it give you any indication what Ernest Jones might be requiring?
That's the next bit of news I'm waiting to hear. Him and Gino are the 2 most prominent. I mean, we still need to see what happens with DK, but we know where they're headed. I'm curious what goes on with Ernest Jones and Gino.
Well, the Bears have made a concerted effort over the past couple days to improve their offensive line. So today they traded for 2-time All-Pro guard Joe Thuney, sending a 2026 4th-round pick to the Chiefs. Then yesterday, they acquired Jonah Jackson from the Rams for a 6th-round pick.
Yeah, I guess they're trying to protect poor Caleb Williams there. Yeah, their offensive line not good. I mean, they were really low as far as running, and then he got sacked. I was talking about running the ball, but then he got sacked, 77 times or something like that. Caleb Williams did, and that's your number 1 pick of the draft. So it's wise of them. I mean, I think you could have predicted, what are the Bears going to do in the offseason? Yeah, protect their quarterback.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's Seahawks fans looking at that going, yeah, we'd like to see the Seahawks make some of those moves. And, there's a lot of salary that comes with Thuney. He's, what did we say? He was 32, 34. So in football years, he's kind of getting to that point of.
But offensive linemen are so durable. That's the one position where I don't think your age hurts you that much. I mean, look at Jason Peters and Trent Williams, and really when you look at, I know the NFLPA does some kind of a study, but if you look at offensive linemen, are usually the longest tenure in the NFL. So
outside of kickers.
Yeah, right. But they don't count, Bob.
I think Morton Anderson's still playing, isn't he? Yeah, he's 73 years old out here.
That's right.
All right, Take Two is brought to you by Swedish Cyberknife. Treat prostate cancer with Swedish Cyberknife. Swedish.org/cyberknife prostate. Coming up, who has the potential to be the best pitcher in this Mariners rotation? You might get a different answer depending on the day. We're going to get into that next as we continue live from Peoria, Arizona. It's Wyman and Bob. This is Seattle Sports on 710.
The John Schneider Show.
With Wyman and Bob.
Brought to you by Pizza Hut.
You're down at the Combine. What's the biggest priority that you want to know about these players?
Yeah, I would say having our coaches here this year, interviewing the players in person and watching them interact, how they respond to the teaching, and can they teach the coaches. That's probably the most important thing this year. We didn't bring the guys last year because everybody was just installing our systems and getting going. So it's pretty cool having those guys here this year.
View the rest of this interview on demand at seattlesports.com and on the Seattle Sports YouTube page.
This week's First Mark Challenge victory, well, it goes to Mike. Hey, Mike, why did you call First Mark Insurance?
My wife and I moved here from New York City and found this great guy. It got pricey, but because he was good to us over the years, we stayed loyal to him. But then one day I got an increase that was quite unacceptable. So I made one phone call. I didn't do any shopping. My wife told me to call First Mark.
Mike, were they able to save you and your family money?
Oh, yes. It was over $100 a month.
What would you tell others they can expect when they call First Mark?
The most competitive pricing that you can find. And they had terrific customer service. Even if you're on the phone with them, you can tell they have a smile on their face, so you can tell they love what they're doing.
Do you wish you would have made that call earlier?
I was just kicking myself as you were speaking because I didn't do it sooner.
Well, you just heard. Mike did it. My family did it. You got to do it, too. It's totally free. Take the First Mark Challenge. See how much they can save you and how much better your coverage will get. Maybe you will be our next First Mark Challenge victory. Just go to firstmarkinsurance.com. That's firstmarkinsurance.com.
It's the World Fighting Championships at Emerald Queen Casino Event Center. Saturday night, May 10th. Experience the thrill of live MMA, boxing, Muay Thai, and kickboxing. Tickets at emeraldqueen.com. Don't miss this exciting mixed martial arts event. The World Fighting Championships, May 10th at Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest. 21 and older. Need gambling help? Call 800-547-6133 or visit emeraldqueen.com.
Imagine finding your dream home and moving in right away. No waiting to sell your old place first. Sounds perfect, right? That's exactly what Orchard's Move First, Sell Later program lets you do. Buy your new home now and sell the old one later. Here's how it works. Orchard gives you cash so you can buy and move into your new home first on your timeline. No waiting, no showings, no double moves. Then the Orchard experts take it from there. They handle repairs on your old home and make price-boosting upgrades with no cost until close. Once they're done, a local Orchard agent lists and sells your home for top dollar. Orchard's Move First program gives you the freedom to buy and move into your new home first and sell your old home later. Buy before you sell and get top dollar for your home with Orchard. Ready to find out how much your home is worth? Visit Orchard.com to get your free home valuation. That's Orchard.com.
This sandwich is not just spicy, it's flavorful. Hi, this is Patayo. And this is Elsa. And a little thing I love about the Chick-fil-A Grilled Spicy Deluxe Sandwich is that spicy kick. Because the spice comes in at just the right moment. Oh, no. A little thing I love is that cilantro lime sauce. It's a fun blend of zesty and bold. That's what really makes me happy. Are you going to eat all your fries?
Order a Chick-fil-A Grilled Spicy Deluxe Sandwich and a Diet Dr. Pepper on the Chick-fil-A app for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
Is that a new Samsung Galaxy A15 5G?
Yeah, I got it for free when I joined Cricket Nation.
Sounds pretty great.
At Cricket, anyone can get a new phone when they switch.
Whoa.
With a high-quality camera, meaning more flattering selfies for all. And super fast 5G, so you can post them for all to see. Your friends, your family, your ex. Free phone! Free phone!
Okay, I'll switch.
Welcome to Cricket Nation.
Cricket 5G is not available everywhere. Must bring your number to Cricket on a $60 a month voice plan. First month service charge and tax due at sale. Fees, terms, and other restrictions apply. See cricketwireless.com for details.
Subscribe to the Seattle Sports YouTube page to find new and exclusive content from your favorite shows and personalities daily. Just head to YouTube, search Seattle Sports, and click subscribe.
Meanwhile, at Xfinity.
So, influencer life going well?
Oh, yeah. I'm up to 32 followers.
Oh, that's something.
Yeah, posting my tap dancing videos is easier than ever because we engineered Xfinity Internet with 99.99% network reliability.
Plus, Xfinity Mobile with Wi-Fi Power Boost gives you ultra-fast Wi-Fi at home and on the go. But wait, tap dancing? You don't tap dance.
Hey, what I lack in skill, I make up with passion.
Do more of what you love and love how fast you do it with Xfinity Internet and mobile. Through April 21st, get 300 megabit Xfinity Internet and one unlimited mobile line together for $25 a month for 1 year and save over $1,000 in your first year versus other major carriers. Plus, ask how to get iPhone 16e on us. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Equipment tax and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply. Actual speeds vary. Savings compared to Verizon 5G Internet plus one unlimited welcome line and AT&T Internet 300 plus one unlimited starter SL line. Xfinity Internet required. Actual savings vary.
Headed to the Sounder game this Saturday? Get down early and check out the Seattle RV Show. Sounders fans will be able to attend the show for just $5 before and after the match when they present their soccer ticket. More info at seattlervshow.com.
We've all been there. Sleepless nights, mind racing, wondering if your business's security service is really protecting what matters. At Bay Alarm, we can put your security insecurities to bed. Video security, burglar alarms, fire alarms, access control, 24/7 monitoring, and more. Our advanced technology and personalized support ensure you can rest easy, knowing we're here for you, your people, and your business. Visit bayalarm.com to talk to a local security expert. Bay Alarm, we got you.
Luxury awaits at Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel, where comfort meets elegance. This summer, experience breathtaking Cascade views and world-class dining. Elevate your next getaway by combining effortless style with the utmost relaxation. Seattle's closest is now Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel.
This hour is brought to you by Legacy Group Capital Common Sense Lending.
Wyman and Bob.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
Weekdays 2 to 7.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
We continue live from Peoria, Arizona. It's Wyman and Bob, Seattle Sports on 710. Text line is there for you at 866-979-3776, powered by Mac and Jack's Brewing Company. We'll get to some of your texts. Lots of texts coming in on DK, coming in on Tyler, so we'll try to get to some of those. Again, you guys can weigh in on whatever you'd like. Share your opinions on Tyler, maybe memories, or, just going to miss that guy.
Yeah, what are your favorite plays that he made?
The toe tap, and the only thing I don't like is the uniform. But, it was just such a brilliant catch. It was a brilliant throw. It was credit on both ends. But that catch was just ridiculous. And
he's stretched out as far as you can stretch your body out.
And just the command, that body control is just almost weird. And
I got to say, that was an unbelievable throw by Russell. Because on that play, he scrambled and to the right, and then he goes all the way back to the left. And those two had such a great chemistry, much like Baldwin. But yeah, I mean, just the finished product there of him just entirely stretched out was just amazing. And always, when you make a play like that, coming down with the ball and not letting it touch the ground. I mean, it was just, he was the master of that.
Yeah. I'm going to miss everything about Tyler Lockett. Really going to miss just we didn't talk to him all the time, but the time you just could, we had people texting in saying, yeah, me and some buddies met him at a draft watch party, and he sat there and talked to us.
Of course he did.
And like he didn't have anything else to do, and we're not anybody, but he just sat there. And I mean, that's who he was. It's just, he was just a gracious, and I don't mean to speak about him like he passed away. I mean, he's still with us, and I still expect to see him in a uniform next year, just unfortunately not a Seahawks uniform. So we'll talk more about what's going on with the Seahawks, and that's a reminder, we'll be talking to John Schneider tomorrow. Anxious to get his thoughts on everything that's going on, and just his reflections on Tyler, and how satisfying it is for him to see what he became. That's a huge feather in John's cap, and we'll talk about all of this, DK and Tyler and everything else going on with the John Schneider show tomorrow. So make sure you tune in for that. You don't want to miss it. Meanwhile, Bryce Miller pitches tonight. Lefko asking, what do you want to see out of him over the course of spring training? I wanted to see more of what we saw last year. Sub-3 ERA, just a guy who's, I don't know, by the time the season starts, he might have 10 pitches that he's working with. What's funny is every pitcher we talk to almost jokingly says, well, and Bryce has got, I don't know, another pitch he's got every couple days. And they all talk about that element of his game. But he's a guy that we watched him. Remember the other day, I go, there he is with a glove on his head again. Just walking around, just kind of sauntering around, glove on his head. He's just not affected by much. And I think that's such a great demeanor for a starter, especially when you get in a tough spot. You get in a pinch. You don't have your best stuff. You need a guy who's even-keeled out there.
Well, and I mean this in the best way, too. I really appreciate the cockiness because he does sound like that. But, yeah, you're right. I mean, Bryan Woo was, we'll hear from him later, but it's like, apparently he's got 8 or 9 pitches or something like that. But, yeah, you can hear the confidence in his voice. And it's just, I don't know if he was ever one of the guys that you and I talked about being an ace, like at any one point. He was just very steady, like you said, ended the year with a sub-3 ERA, but now all of a sudden he's going to be in that conversation. So, and these guys a year wiser, and I think what we a lot of times call the 4 and 5, maybe those guys climb up in our minds as far as how they've been pitching, and start to maybe every once in a while be referred to as the 1 or the 2.
Yeah, it's to me they all took turns being the best guy in the rotation, and maybe it just went from night to night, like one outdid the next and outdid the next, and it's just the bar gets set high by each and every one. It really is a unique and special collection of arms, to say the very least. We had Ryan Dempster on yesterday. He's on MLB Network, former pitcher, former great pitcher himself, and he talked about his big-time expectations for Bryce Miller this year.
I think Bryce Miller, has a real good shot of having that kind of Cy Young caliber season, and in a rotation, with Gilbert, with George Kirby, with Luis, it kind of gets a little bit lost nationally, as to how good this kid really could be. And I think that, there's that potential there to really kind of just shock a lot of people and go out there and, be that guy who might start as the number 3 or the number 4 and end up at the end of the season as the number 1.
Yeah, and that was a response to the question of the 4 young guys. Who do you think has the most potential? Who do who's got the highest ceiling, if you will? And that was his response. And I think he could have said anybody, and you go, yeah, you're probably right. Could have said Kirby or Woo or Logan,
true.
or it doesn't matter. That's the unique spot that this organization is in with this rotation.
Well, and it's interesting because Ryan Dempster was a pitcher in the big leagues for 16 years, and then you look at. If you're doing national media, you're kind of looking at everybody's. I thought it was really interesting that he singled out Bryce.
Yeah.
Because, if you go, okay, let's look at the Mariners. Okay, they've got a good rotation. They got Castillo, they got Kirby, they got Logan Gilbert, and for him to pick out Bryce Miller, like he saw something. In some of the games that he pitched last year. And I don't know if he came down here for spring training and saw anything, but I thought that was interesting that he had that much knowledge about Bryce Miller. And I think, again, it's something that he sees that, he thought he knows works as a former big league pitcher for 16 years.
Yeah, Bryce was on with Brock and Salk when they were out here, and he outlines the improvement he made during the second half of last season.
You look back at the 24 season, I circled 2 games in the first half that came back to bite me, or that I didn't like the outcome, and those were Kansas City and Miami. And I circled those games just because I didn't feel like those were really my 2 blow-up starts of the first half, but I didn't feel like I got beat by the other team. It was more mentally. Those 2 games, I kind of, we got out in Kansas City to a huge lead in the first inning, and then I kind of let off the gas a little bit and let them claw back, and then Miami just kind of came out slow and didn't prepare mentally how I would other games. And going into the back half of the season, I think kind of learned from that and used my new pitches a little differently, and I felt like I was a lot more mentally prepared going into each start. And
I love that. My new pitches. But a guy who's correct. He's self-correcting, and he's looking at his, hey, it's not that these guys lit me up so much as I beat myself out there. And he's very, self-aware, self-critical, if you will, self-evaluation. He's just, again, I feel like we're being redundant. We're saying this about each and every guy in this rotation. It is just a unique and special arm that you're dealing with there, and they all seem mature beyond their years. And it's cool to hear the national voices pick out different people. We always refer to that Tim Kirkshin drop where he's saying, I expect George Kirby to be the best, not a Cy Young, candidate or the best pitcher in that rotation, the best pitcher in baseball.
In all of baseball.
Yeah. That's it doesn't make it true. We'll see what happens, but to hear that from guys that have spent their lives covering this game,
right,
and say something like that is pretty cool.
Well, and that's why I think it's so exciting that you're hearing from those same people about Bryce Miller, because he just, that was quite a statement by Kirkshin. But it's cool, and you talk about, I think most athletes, and I mentioned this even for me, I was always competing against myself. I was trying to get better myself, and that's ultimately, and all the things that we've heard from the pitching staff, whether it's interviews with Brock and Salk, or we had Logan Gilbert, and it just seems like they're all really on top of it as far as the mental side of it.
One more quick one before the break here from Bryce Miller, talking about his comfort level throwing all of those pitches he's been working on.
I trust all my stuff and have 7 pitches now that I can trust, and it's just, at the end of the day, it comes down to execution and not letting a single pitch, slide by.
Yeah, I saw that during spring he picked up like a mile and a half as far as his fastball goes.
The velocity,
yeah, as far as velo goes. So, he's gotten better, and, he seems even more relaxed than we've seen him in the past.
He certainly does. All right, coming up, one recent Mariner had some interesting thoughts on the Mariners' offseason. We're going to get into that next. It's Wyman and Bob live from Peoria, Arizona. This is Seattle Sports on 710.
Seattle Sports is in Arizona for spring training baseball.
Our goal really is to come out of spring training and to play that consistent brand of baseball from beginning to end.
Go behind the scenes with Wyman and Bob as the Seattle Mariners get ready for the 2025 season. All this week from 2 to 7.
What a masterful performance by the big right-hander Logan Gilbert.
And hear every pitch of spring training baseball on Seattle Sports. Streaming on the Seattle Sports app.
Holy smokes.
The Lee Johnson culture to me is empowering all of your employees to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. There are certain things that it doesn't matter what level of employment you are in our organization. If it's not the right thing or it doesn't feel right, they have the ability to take care of the customer and make the decision without asking the manager, without asking an owner. The end result is they can speak to the customer with more confidence. They're definitely more confident in what they're trying to provide the customer, what the customer is trying to accomplish, and just giving them a better experience.
His name is Justin Meek. He's the leader and caretaker of more than 300 full-time employees for the Lee Johnson Auto family. It's the united understanding among Lee Johnson employees that customers are the purpose of our day. The LJ way is the Lee Johnson Auto.
Ooh, ma. What was that? That is business phone bliss with the Ooma Cloud Phone System. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs. You sound very calm. I am. Ooma has everything I need to run my business more efficiently, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees. Ooma. Nice. Find your business comm at ooma.com/radio.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
ZipRecruiter is the place. ZipRecruiter is the place for talented teachers, savvy software developers, and master mixologists. ZipRecruiter is the place where you meet all these people and more. That's because ZipRecruiter is the place for job seekers who are looking for new opportunities. In fact, ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day, so you can find the right candidates right away. It's no wonder that ZipRecruiter is the place for skilled skydiving instructors, accomplished airbrush artists, and proficient pediatricians. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter to hire, you're missing out. ZipRecruiter is the place that's so confident it can make your hiring easier that it lets you try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. So if you want the right candidates for all your roles, ZipRecruiter is the place to go. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Celebrate the best of the best in Washington sports with the 90th Annual Sports Star of the Year Award Show on King 5. Legendary athletes and today's stars come together for one spectacular night of sports accolades. Hosted by Steve Rabel and Jordan Babineau, featuring Kenny Mayne, Cal Raleigh, Fred Couples, Jessica Campbell, Gary Payton, and Marshawn Lynch. The 90th Annual Sports Star of the Year Award Show, presented by Microsoft. Saturday, March 8th at 7 on King 5. Visit seattlesports.org for more.
The John Schneider Show.
Every Thursday until draft day on Wyman and Bob.
Listen live Thursdays at 4 p.m. or watch the interviews on the Seattle Sports YouTube page.
Do you need a new roof? Don't wait for summer to replace it. 3 Tree Roofing is here to help you save big this winter. Avoid summer's higher prices and longer wait times and protect your home's integrity now. Visit 3treeroofing.com for your free on-site estimate. Our certified installers make it easy and worry-free, no matter the season. Don't wait. Book your estimate today at 3treeroofing.com. Mention this ad and get $500 off your roof replacement. 3 Tree Roofing, your Puget Sound roofing experts.
We know finding a company to trust with your home is a big decision, and one we look forward to earning with incredible service, top quality products, and lifetime warranties. Adrian here, owner of Lake Washington Windows and Doors. Our windows are feature-rich with our sound package that reduces noise by 50%, clean glass technology, and added protection with our exclusive First Guard 3-layer security glass. Learn more about all of these features at lakewashingtonwindows.com. Lake Washington Windows and Doors, a name you can trust.
This is Matt Coker from West Coast Men's Health. Has Viagra stopped working for you? Do you hate the side effects? If you've taken Viagra for any length of time, you already know that pills are not the solution to ED. Here at West Coast Men's Health, we have a better approach to ED. Acoustic wave therapy creates blood flow circulation by safely removing the plaque in your arteries and restoring function naturally. No pills, no shots, no surgery. We can also treat Peyronie's disease. Our non-invasive treatment for ED is painless and highly effective. We have treated thousands of men just like you. Stop living with this problem and do something about it. Do yourself a favor, do your partner a favor, and call us today.
Call 206-519-6541.
That's 206-519-6541. 206-519-6541. Online at westcoastmenshealth.com. HSA cards welcome and financing available.
Wyman and Bob.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
Weekdays 2 to 7.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Coming up at the top of the hour, 3 o'clock, our conversation with Bryan Woo. You're going to want to tune in for that one. Really good stuff from him out here at spring training, Peoria, Arizona, at the Mariners Spring Training Complex. It's Wyman and Bob. You guys can text in throughout the show at 866-979-3776, powered by Mac and Jack's Brewing Company. Meanwhile, we were talking about this a bit this morning, and I think most people are aware of it by now, that Bob Nightengale wrote an article for USA Today centered around the Mariners, and it was not very flattering. It was not very complimentary of not these players or this team, more about the front office and the lack of willingness to spend on their product, certainly, and waste. This is kind of the same complaint fans have, I have, that you've got this generational rotation. You got to take advantage of it while you have it. And there were some comments from former Mariner infielder Justin Turner in there, where he said, a couple of the quotes, the fact that they missed the playoffs by one game and didn't go out and add an impact bat or two when you have the best pitching staff in baseball just seems absurd to me, said Turner. He says, I told them several times this offseason, you have a unicorn of a pitching staff. This might be the best 5 starting pitchers in the history of the game. So very complimentary of the players. He praised Seattle, said he loved the city and the fans and his teammates and the clubhouse. But, you know, he's got the same criticisms that fans have, you know, and we've heard from other national media sources out there. And to hear it from a player who was in that clubhouse is that's pretty damning.
It's good and bad, right? I mean, he loves and recognizes the pitching staff and the rotation and how good it is. He calls it
a unicorn and best pitching in the history of the game, but not adding a bat. So I mean, look, that's that part of it. I understand why people would say that, but you know, one of the things that Rick Riz and I were talking about. Here's another one. You know, we talk about if you're going to look on the positive side, you had a whole year of Randy Arozarena, and you didn't have that last year. Mm-hmm. So you know that's another thing that could happen because again, you missed the playoffs by one game. Yeah. I mean, you know, Robles is another guy you didn't have for the entire season. Mm-hmm. So I get that approach to it, that thought. And hopefully it is a difference, but he's not wrong about them not adding. I mean, they just did not. And he said, honestly, as much as I wanted to be back there, if I was the only piece they brought back in, I would be saying the same thing. What the hell are we doing? Are you trying? I mean, these are Justin's words. He says, this is not going to be, there's not going to be a better time for it, so I don't know what they're doing. I'm very confused. It's a head scratcher for me, said Turner. So he says, I told him several times the offseason about the unicorn pitching staff. Obviously, there have been teams that have had elite 3 guys, and he brought up the Braves with, you know, Glavine and Maddox and Smoltz, and maybe 4 guys, talking about the Orioles 20-game winners, Jim Palmer and Dave McNally, Bobby Culler, and Pat Dobson in 71. But 5 guys? So he's going back in history to some of the great rotations, and he's putting this 5 above some of the greatest to ever do it. So he just said there's never going to be a better time in the history of that franchise to have added a couple of bats to make a run than this year, and they missed it. I thought Alonso, talking about Pete Alonso, was a slam dunk. How can you not go after him? Are you kidding me? So it's interesting. So for Mariner fans, baseball fans that haven't seen that, I retweeted it out there. If you're on Twitter at Bob Stelton, you can find the article and read the whole thing. But Bob Nightengale goes on to talk about, that.
Yes, his opening line, it's like buying a shiny new Porsche with a rusted Honda Civic engine.
Yeah, read the next ones.
It's hiring Neil deGrasse Tyson as a professor and having him teach first-grade science. Or it's like inviting Dave Chappelle to do a set in front of a church gathering.
Yeah. All very good. Very... Yeah, and he Nightengale talks about, the spending. He said they spent $71 million less in free agency than even the Athletics. $71 million less than the A's.
Well, come on, man. The A's, they just had a barrage of signings. And
well, for them, it was remarkable.
Yeah.
That's a whole separate story, because if you're a long-suffering A's fan, you're going, where was this when you were in Oakland? Now you're playing in a minor league park in Sacramento, and you're investing in your team. So, yeah, that's a whole different – but it's not a favorable comparison. And it reinforces the angst and the cynicism of the fan base. And I get it. I don't think anything he said is inaccurate. I do think they tried. That's the one thing we keep hearing about as we've been here. That it's not like they just sat back and said, no, we're good. We got the team. I think that's the feeling now, that they feel like they've got the team that can compete. I think they did try to bring in additional bats. Now, what caliber? Was it Pete Alonso, Bregman? No. But I think they were in on some other things that just didn't come to fruition for whatever reason. And I don't know how tough of a sell T-Mobile Park is. You know, how much of an impediment was that? I don't know. But I do know, just from speaking to people here, yeah, attempts were certainly made. Yeah. It just didn't happen.
Well, and also within a certain range. They're not going to go after the big dollar guys. That's just not who they are. But, yeah, we had a text yesterday that said, hey, it's not easy it's not hard to figure out. It's about the toughest park in all of Major League Baseball to hit. But, you know, we talk guys like JP, who we'll talk to today, Jon Morosi. It's about the money. It's about the money, and that's just not. They have a lid on how much they're going to spend.
Unfortunately, yeah. I mean, that's the truth.
That's the business model.
Well, and I think if you have an impact bat that's a free agent, and you're interested, and the Cubs, I'm just throwing that out there because that's where Turner went, but the Cubs or the Phillies or any other team. And they're saying, hey, this is maybe a prove-it year for this guy. This is a guy who has been good but really didn't get the offers that he wanted, so he wants that year to show, hey, I'm worthy of that long-term, big-dollar deal. I need that 1 year to prove it. They're not going to come to T-Mobile Park to prove how prolific they can be offensively. So if you convince them to come here, you're going to have to overpay. You're going to have to pay more than those teams. They're not going, well, this – Dodgers offered me $10 million and the Mariners offered me $10 million, so I'm going to Seattle. Unless they got family or a history here, that's just not how it's going to go, unfortunately. And that is the park. That is so, you know, that they're not equal when we're talking about where they're playing and where they're going to reestablish themselves in some cases.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting looking at a couple of texts, and 360 saying that he's criticizing both the ownership and Jerry Dipoto. You know, I don't.
He actually stuck up for Jerry in the article. Justin Turner.
Well, I'm talking about the text.
I thought he was saying.
So I mean, look, you want to get on Jerry for the things that he says. Okay, fine, but it's not really. I mean, it's the owner, the end.
Owners.
And that's kind of their model, and that's the way they're going. So, and then somebody also called Donnie Barrels dummy barrels, which I thought that was unnecessary.
Yeah, but, he didn't do anything. He's not done anything wrong. Look, man, guy wants to play. He's a proven commodity in the league. He's not the impact bat we were all hoping for, but he's a contact guy who gets on base, and hopefully that'll remain true. And
Perry Hill was excited about getting him in here.
Yeah, I'm not
good infielder.
I don't know that he turns their fortunes, but you know, I'm not mad at him because they didn't get another bat. That's not his fault. But you know, it's I don't know. It's an interesting set of circumstances that's not lost on the national media, certainly not lost on Justin Turner, you know, talking about this whole thing. And in the article he was talking about Dipoto feeling like he kind of unfairly gets criticized and points to ownership, saying, you know, look, it's what we say all the time, like they're the ones doling out the money. It's up to you to figure out how to utilize it, but here's what you're working with, the end.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
we're working out, you know, we got the pitchers over here working out, and saw a couple of footballs come out here. I want to see how they can spin it here.
We see that every time we're out at Edgar's and we watch them out there on the field warming up. Guys are throwing the football around. It's just become a regular thing. All right, coming up at times, he was the best pitcher in this Mariners rotation last year. Bryan Woo is going to join us next year as we continue live from Peoria, Arizona. It's Wyman and Bob. This is Seattle Sports on 710.
The John Schneider Show.
With Wyman and Bob.
Brought to you by Pizza Hut.
You're down at the Combine. What's the biggest priority that you want to know about these players?
Yeah, I would say having our coaches here this year, interviewing the players in person and watching them interact, how they respond to the teaching, and can they teach the coaches. That's probably the most important thing this year. We didn't bring the guys last year because everybody was just installing our systems and getting going. So it's pretty cool having those guys here this year.
View the rest of this interview on demand at seattlesports.com and on the Seattle Sports YouTube page.
So I formed Davis Law Group about 30 years ago, and I would get, the same questions from people about what to do in the case of an accident. Do you need a lawyer? To the point where I decided that I would at least write a book which would answer the common questions that I would receive as a lawyer. Once I wrote my first book, it proved to be hugely popular. I decided to write then a series of books in different accident cases so that we could really teach people about their rights, how to protect them, and how to decide on whether they need a lawyer and what lawyer to hire. I've found in my career that having a client that is educated and knowledgeable about their particular type of case really helps the client and also usually ends up making the case or the claim more successful. To get your free copy of any of my Washington accident books, visit WashingtonAccidentBooks.com.
Hey, it's Mike Salk here. Let's talk stats. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the state of Washington ranks number 4 in the whole U.S. for the highest concentration of roofers. That's literally thousands of roofers to choose from. So how do you know how to pick the right one for your home? Well, you start by eliminating those who aren't GAF Master Elite certified. That's about 97% of all roofers. So now you're down to the elite 3%. How many have over 35 years of experience? How many utilize the catch-all system to keep yards and driveways clear of any debris? Family-owned with local roots and have the stamp of approval from the Mike Salk household? Well, that leaves you with just one, the roofing company you can trust. That's Riverside Roofing. In a sea of thousands of competitors, Riverside Roofing continues to stand out. And guess what? They have openings this winter for your roof project. So have them out to your house this week. Call them at 425-949-8252 or go to riversideroofingllc.com. They are the roofing company you can trust.
T-Mobile home internet is all about speed, value.
What you doing, Zach?
I'm rehearsing. There are so many benefits. You got to talk fast.
T-Mobile home internet ranks #1 in customer satisfaction for home wireless internet by J.D. Power.
Wow, you are good.
Try singing it. T-Mobile has price lock.
They won't raise your rate on internet.
Hulu and Paramount Plus on them.
On them.
Get T-Mobile home internet all in for just $55 a month with auto pay and any postpaid voice line.
Additional terms apply. For J.D. Power 2024 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest, the last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying, just beautiful.
Whatever you love, find it on eBay. eBay. Things people love.
Progressive knows there are some surprisingly expensive things in life, like frames. Because you found a classic 70s concert poster. But when you went to get it framed, you realized the frame will cost about 4 times the amount of the poster. Which is actually absurd because no one will be looking at the frame, and if they are, then you severely overestimated how cool this poster is. But then you remember by switching your home and auto to Progressive, you could save hundreds and put it towards a classic 70s concert poster in an absurdly overpriced frame. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
Over the past decade, Washington state politicians have doubled state spending with no improvements to the issues we care about. Instead, we now have the 3rd highest cost of living in the nation and a $12 billion deficit. It's time to tell legislators we need better results, not bigger taxes. Act now at affordablewashington.org. Paid for by people for an affordable Washington and Olympia, Washington. Top 5 donors are Washington Alliance for Competitive Economy, Microsoft, Madrona, T-Mobile, and Alaska Air.
The John Schneider Show.
Every Thursday until draft day on Wyman and Bob.
We are now speaking with the architect of your Seattle Seahawks.
How we doing, football fans? With Seahawks President of Football Operations and General Manager Jon Schneider.
My job is to do what's best for the Seattle Seahawks organization. I have to keep wrapping my mind around that and trying to communicate effectively.
Listen live Thursdays at 4 p.m. or watch the interviews on the Seattle Sports YouTube page.
What's the standard the Seahawks defense needs to be held to under Mike McDonald?
The Jon Schneider Show.
Brought to you by Pizza Hut.
Let's go!
This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports. Seattle Sports Snapshot.
Well, the big news for the Seattle Seahawks, the release of Tyler Lockett, the second most prolific receiver in the history of this organization, has officially been released by the Seahawks with a lot of fanfare from the team and a lot of the needed positive attention. And on the heels of that, unfortunately, the news comes out that DK Metcalf has requested a trade away from the Seahawks. And according to sources speaking with Adam Schefter, he prefers to be dealt to a contending team. Now the Seahawks, according to a story written by our guy Brady Henderson for ESPN.com, are upset that the news of Metcalf's trade request was leaked on a day the organization was celebrating Lockett's 10-year career in Seattle. A source told ESPN that, and they also said the team will explore a Metcalf trade, adding, "We will do what's best for the Seahawks."
Snapshot, brought to you by Miller Lite. When it's game time, it's Miller time.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, this is Wyman and Bob.
On Seattle Sports.
Streaming live on the Seattle Sports app and at seattlesports.com.
Now, here are your hosts, Dave Wyman and Bob Stelton.
We continue live here in Peoria, Arizona. It's Wyman and Bob, Seattle Sports on 710. We get a chance to speak with a guy we've had a chance to speak with a number of times. Always a great conversation with one of the superstars of this rotation. Always, we debate every day. Who's the ace? Who's the ace? And he's come up a few times. Bryan Woo is with us. How are you, man?
Good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great, and that's such a cool thing talking about this rotation. Is throughout the season, Dave and I are. He'll be like, Bob, who do you think's the ace right now? And it changes from one week to the next because you guys are so dominant. And you had some electric performances last year. I'm curious, are you a guy that goes back and watches games, or goes and watches? Hey, I was sizzling here. I had a tough time here. What was the difference? Or how do you review last season?
Yeah, yeah. I definitely go back and watch games. Day after, usually try to watch it through and pick up on some things, and then you're always kind of looking back. Like you're in a good spot, you're looking, back at kind of what you've done well, and then if you're in a bad spot, you're like, how did I, what was I doing when I was doing well, and how do I kind of pick up on some of those things. But yeah, the season as a whole obviously was overall, an improvement, a step in the right direction. Obviously, still disappointing not making the playoffs. I think that's kind of the overarching, goal. No matter what, I think, no matter how the individual stuff goes throughout the year and how good or bad of a year you have, it all boils down to that: are we making it into October? So, great, obviously, and progressing, but still after the ultimate goal.
What was different for you coming back this year? Each year, I know your first year, you're kind of trying to figure things out, and then each year you kind of pick something up and you're more confident. What was anything stand out to you coming back this year?
Yeah, I think having a little bit better sense, I think, of what I wanted to do this offseason and how I wanted to go about certain things. I think something that helped me in going into last year was keeping my on-field approach pretty simple, knowing what I wanted to do and how I wanted to attack certain things, but off the field in terms of the weight room and training and nutrition, dieting, sleep, whatever it is, kind of always finding little ways to get better. And I think was able to, pick up on a couple of things at the end of last year that I think really helped. And so building on those things and then, taking into the new year and, always trying to get better at the things that you're not as good at and kind of sustain the things that you've done well. So it's a mix of both.
When you look at your numbers, what are the important numbers to you? Because when I'm looking at a pitcher, I'm looking at their strikeout to walk ratio. I mean, certainly ERA. I don't pay attention to wins and losses. But for you, I mean, looking at your numbers, at 2.89, you had 101 strikeouts and just 13 walks. So your command was spectacular. But for you, what tells you, yeah, I was doing well or I wasn't doing well? What numbers do you look at?
I think the first number is innings. You know, am I staying healthy? Am I on the field? Am I going deep into ball games for the team? Am I, you know, making quality starts? I think as I'm finding my way into the league a little bit and with the team and our rotation is kind of that's our overarching theme is, you know, I think everybody talks about the staff and how good everybody is and what it is, but for me, the biggest thing is being workhorses and, you know, going deep into games, putting up innings, putting up quality starts, and you kind of string together one after another. Everybody's good is really good, but I think making sure that we're staying consistent. Our bad starts are still, you know, 6-7 innings. Guys are going deep into games. We're still giving our bullpen, you know, a breather and what that is. So, yeah, just kind of making sure that you keep the important stuff in perspective, and I think the other stuff like, you know, strikeouts and ERA and all that things kind of work themselves out as you go.
Do you have an innings goal? We talked to Logan. His was 200, and he reached that last year, 1 of 2 in the entire league. For you, you went 121 and a third last year, so do you have a number in mind for this season?
Yeah, I mean, I want to get to 200 for sure. I think there's a right way to go about it as well, of healthy, of kind of, you know, there's a build-up. You don't just go from 120 to 200 innings if you haven't done it before. So I know it's going to take some time, but, yeah, just staying healthy throughout the year. You know, the goal is eventually getting to that 200 innings, you know, 30-plus starts a year. And, you know, quality start after quality start and whatever it may be, but making sure that, you know, the consistency of start to start and kind of making sure that when it's my turn to go take the ball that I'm doing my job for the team. And, yeah, like I said, kind of all those other things are important, of strikeouts and K to walk and all that stuff, and making sure that I'm commanding the zone that I want to, but I think it all kind of starts with innings and starts.
Bryan, we talked to Ryan Dempster, who pitched for a long time in Major League Baseball, national guy now, media-wise, and everybody knows about the rotation here in Seattle and talk about how there's 1s and 2s. Basically, there's no 1 through 5. And like Bob said, you know, almost like every 3 or 4 weeks we'll go like, okay, who's the ace? You know, so do you get a sense for that? Like how cool that is, or is it? Do you pay much attention to media and what everybody is saying about this rotation?
I definitely try not to pay too much attention to it. I think it's definitely inevitable. You'll run into, you know, things, TVs are on and people are talking or whatever it is. But I think we do a pretty good job of trying to just kind of stay focused on what we're doing on the field and what our job is and what we got to do to get ready for a game that night. And I think everybody is, you know, people see how talented the staff is, you know, on the field, but I think what people don't see is how good of just human beings they are, you know, off the field. And so, you know, paying attention to the right things and making sure that we're focused on the right things and keeping the main thing. So, you know, I think, yeah, like you said, I think our staff, we have the privilege of anybody that goes out is our ace that night, you know, especially when we're all going good and you know, doing the right things. We're attacking. We're in the zone. We're making sure that we're, you know, we're getting right after guys. There's no, you know, playing around. It's once the you get the ball in your hands and you're crossing those white lines, it's go compete. So yeah, just keeping the main thing. But I think we're definitely, you know, very lucky. I think I'm realizing how special this group is these first couple years that I'm getting in.
So you're ignoring all the national. You listen to us, of course, but our show, but everything else you're tuning out.
Yes.
Clearly, that's the message. No, you know, our video guy here, Justin, was talking to you before he had you on and talked about a compliment that Cal paid you and said you've got easy cheese. Talking about you're effortless, and I've always compared you to Mariano Rivera, who was a guy I watched all the time who didn't look like it was max effort. You can see when guys are really getting behind it, and your ball just pops, and it doesn't look like you're putting a lot of strain. I mean, is that just a function of your mechanics? Is that just a natural thing, or has it always been like that for you? Because it does look like easy heat, or as Cal said, easy cheese.
Yeah, I mean, I think as I've developed as a pitcher, getting to know my body a little bit better, and how to move and how to use kind of my whole body the right way, and using my legs and my core and things of that sense to put less strain on your arm. I think it's a kind of a lost, I wouldn't say lost art in terms of modern day pitching, of everything's about velocity and moving as hard as you can and throwing as hard as you can, and those things are obviously important in today's game, but I think making sure that you are in tune with your body and how you're moving and things of that sense. I think there's definitely a balance to it. You don't want to get too deep into it, and that's a slippery slope as well. But making sure that my body's moving down the mound the right way, and that the ball's kind of feels like it's kind of coming out on its own. I think I didn't do it on purpose. It's kind of just what feels right, and then now it's obviously led to some deception and some life on the fastball and things like that. But definitely wasn't always like that.
Bryan, what are some of the things that you do in the offseason as far as like working out? I mean, are there certain things you try to stay away from? I mean, you're not just doing a normal like bench press and incline press. I mean, what kind of specifically, what kind of things are you doing, and have you kind of narrowed that down over the years? Yeah,
I think learning myself over the last couple of years and kind of what I need. Strength and conditioning is a lot about, it's individualized as you get up and get into higher levels of what are you good at, what are you not as good at, what do you need to improve, what do you need to sustain. So for me, it's a lot of core flexibility, stability. I'm they call it hypermobile, pretty flexible and whatnot. So for me, it's a lot about, core and stability. It's about lower half strength, making sure that I'm kind of doing my arm care for my shoulders and elbows and things like that. But yeah, it's definitely not a whole lot of squatting and benching and things like that. It's all functional movements.
Are you everybody makes fun of Logan and his big bag of toys and all that, but have you tried any of them? Do you look at them and go, hey, you know what, this there's something to this, or is that not your thing?
I mess with him a lot about it, but I think there's definitely some validity to it. I've tried a couple of things. I don't know if I'll get fully into the water bag stuff, but
or the big oven mitt.
Yeah, I try to pick up on what it's being used for and why it's useful, and dig into that part rather than just do it. I'll ask him a lot of questions about it and what he's trying to do with it. And obviously he's been, our workhorse of workhorses, stays healthy, makes his starts, goes deep into the games. He's throwing harder than he ever has. His stuff is better than it's ever been, and so. There's definitely, you try to watch other guys and see what they're doing and how to do it. But, I'm kind of just always learning from everybody. Everybody's got, a different routine. Logan's got his stuff. Bryce is very into, the analytics. And, obviously he's got a new pitch every couple of days. So, that's something different. And George is kind of really knows himself well. And same with Louie, where they know what they're trying to do and what their game is, and they don't stray too much away from it. So they're very consistent like that. And so it's good. You try to pick up little things from everybody.
Water bag? Is that what you said?
Yeah. That's
what is that one?
That's what the big thing is.
The oven mitt?
Well, the oven mitt is like a throwing sock. So it's just a ball you throw into it. But the water bag is the big, he's got the little circle one. It's just filled with water. You see the big rectangle ones. It's all just for stability.
Yeah,
so, the water creates instability. You got to kind of control it and make sure that you're moving well through those things.
So some of the things that he breaks out, you're that's
I'm
that's
you're
crazy.
You're making things up. But yeah,
you're just messing with everybody.
No, it really is. You'll watch him do some of the things, and you're like, dude, what are you doing? You're making a fool of yourself, kind of. But then he goes out and throws 200 whatever innings and throws 100. So it's all right, well,
it's working.
Works for you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Outside of this rotation, obviously this is the best rotation in baseball. But are there pitchers on other teams you look at and go, hey, I like what this guy does, or I like how he does this, or how he throws his pitch? Do you take things from other pitchers around the league?
Absolutely. I think you could find something with every single pitcher in baseball of things that they do well. I think for me, I try to now look at people that have similar stuff as me, move similarly, you know, how they attack hitters and the way that they go about pitching and kind of like what their mentality is. But yeah, you're always watching. You're always picking up on guys. If we're watching, you know, if we're watching a game, we're obviously watching our guys, but it's fun watching, you know, whoever the other team is putting out too, and kind of like watching where their stuff is at and what they're doing and how they're going after guys. And
any favorites? Anybody here that you're like, this is my guy?
Right now, I'd probably say Wheeler.
Okay.
Wheeler's a big inspiration in terms of the way that he moves down the mound is you know, somewhat similar. He's very smooth, effortless velocity. He's obviously very polished and, you know, earned his right in terms of one of the best pitchers in baseball, and kind of not just what he does in the regular season, but his reputation in the postseason and a lot of different things. So he's someone that I love to watch.
What about within your rotation? Is there a pitch in particular, or if you could take something from whether it's Castillo or Logan or Bryce Miller, who has, like you said, like I heard 7 pitches now?
I think it's up to 7.
I remember Seawald.
It's probably 8 or 9 on the way that he's playing with.
Yeah. Remember Seawald used to just say, I got 2 pitches. That's it. But, I mean, as far as everybody else, what do you admire as far as the other guys?
I could pick something from everybody, I feel like. Yeah, I mean, Bryce has got a new one every day. I think what he did with the splitter last year was pretty cool to watch, to him just pick it up over the offseason and put it right into his repertoire, and how we used it and like the command that he used it with. It wasn't, you know, kind of for someone just starting to throw a new pitch, you know, he makes it incredibly effortless in terms of just picking up, all right, I got a grip I like, and it goes straight into the repertoire, and he's using it, you know, just as much as he's using his other pitches. I'd say Logan's like the same thing with the splitter, but I love his slider. How consistent it is, the shape, the way that he's able to use it with his other stuff. I'd say that's probably one of my favorite ones on the staff. Curb has an unbelievable slider as well. Super hard. His is a little bit more like mine in terms of like his arm angle and shape and things like that. Like Logan's pretty over the top. Kirby's a little bit lower. But his sweeper is unbelievably, like, the shape and the speed and the command on, like, with everything is, you know, Kirby's one of one in the league in terms of command. So he's super fun to watch. And Louis, I'd probably say his changeup. I'd say we actually have, like, I would say our stuff is probably the most similar on the staff in terms of arm angle and shapes and things like that. But I've always loved watching Louis' changeup, man. It's a beautiful thing to watch, and you can watch a really, really good changeup.
Yeah. What do you mean by shape?
Like the analytics, yeah. In terms of if you were to look at, so that we use TrackMan, gives you, like, you throw a pitch, it gives you the numbers of induced vertical break, horizontal break, release height, all that type of stuff. So Louis and I have pretty similar release heights. We're pretty low to the ground, pretty like almost sidearm-ish. And then like the numbers of how much it's moving down and to the side. I wouldn't say it's super similar yet, but I would say my goal is to get somewhere to near where his is.
Hey, I've been asking everybody this question, pitchers and catchers anyway. ABS, it's in 60% of the parks here in spring training. Mm-hmm. What do you think? Pro, con, you like it, you don't like it? How do you feel?
I don't know. I think there's pros and cons to it. I'd say, obviously it takes some time to get used to, and it's been kind of funny watching people use it in challenges and things like that so far in a couple of games. There's definitely a couple of things that would need to get like polished out with it in terms of just like consistency. And, now it's for human umps, it's like every ump kind of has a little bit different of a zone. So you're kind of trying to adjust to an umpire zone as you get into a start. And then, if it's ABS, it's not quite umpire to umpire. It's more hitter to hitter. And so things would change in terms of like how tall or whatever the guy is. So that would probably be the hardest part adjusting to is okay, I just faced it's extreme, but I just faced Aaron Judge, and now I face Altuve, and now it's like it's way different versus for a single umpire. It's like, all right, I pretty much know he's given outside, he's not given inside, he's given up, he's not given down, whatever it is. That's a little bit easier to adjust to.
Did you do anything fun in the off season?
Nothing too crazy, honestly. I just, time with family is probably the most important. Going home, seeing my parents, seeing my sister, dad's side, mom's side, whoever it is, try to just see family as much as I can. You miss out on a lot of opportunities during the year of, missing out on weddings and baby showers and things like that. And it's tough. So you try to get as much of that in as you can during the off season.
Hey, last one before we let you go. How do you like the attention that's growing on the rotation, but you specifically, you, Bryce, it just grows each year. Get guys like us requesting, can we interview him? Can he sit down with us? I mean, that's growing as well. Are you a guy that likes that, or are you like, I'd rather just go out there and pitch and not deal with anything?
I think I'm starting to learn that it comes with the job. If you want to be one of the best players in the world, which obviously is all of our goals, is, it kind of comes with the territory. Which is fine, but I think as long as you, like I said earlier, you keep the main thing, making sure that I'm still getting my work in, making sure that I'm still trying to get the most out of my days, making sure that, I'm finding a way to get better each and every day. That's the most important thing. You can handle your stuff, the way you need to do, and making sure that there are other parts of the job that come with it that you need to make sure that you're still, coming through on, but always keep the main thing the main thing.
And then speaking with Wyman and Bob is a close second.
Exactly.
Certainly.
Absolutely.
I'm sure.
Hey, man, we always appreciate you taking time with us. Always a fun conversation. We wish you the absolute best this season and look forward to seeing you.
Thanks for having me.
There you go, everybody. There's Bryan Woo, just a really good guy to talk to, good conversation, and you could just sit there and talk to that guy for hours and pick his brain about pitching, which I'm sure he'd appreciate. But, yeah, just good stuff. If you guys didn't catch all of that, you just tuned in, you'll be able to find that conversation on the podcast page after the show at seattlesports.com, or if you've got the app, the phone app, the free app, it's free right there at your fingertips. You can download that. Just search Seattle Sports in the App Store or Google Play, and you can find it there, and everything you missed, video, audio, everything's right there for you. So good stuff. Love talking. We say it about all these guys. Love talking to that guy.
Yeah. Mike and I were having a conversation about, I asked him about the shape of the pitch and how important that is, and he explained that to us. But, it's such a highly technical, movement for these guys. And, and I've asked him, and the same thing with Logan, about I got to imagine a lot of the things that you're doing as far as in the weight room in the off season are for health. So you don't get your body in and a lot of times you hear these guys talk about how their step or their body or whatever gets them in trouble because, the last thing, the whip is that arm, and you got to protect that. And it seems like I like that he was like, there's a couple of things that Logan does that I think are.
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
No question. And then he talks about, and then he throws for over 200 innings. He's all-star, so I guess it's working. It's one of those things that you don't if it's working, if it ain't broke, you don't fix it, right? So as goofy as it may be to a lot of his own teammates, and we thing is, he seems to be such a good sport about everybody giving him grief, talking about Logan. He's just, and I'm with him, man. Hey, if that's helping you reach your goals, only two pitchers in the league were 200 innings or more, and he was one of them.
Amazing.
Totally healthy. He's making every start. I'm in. Get all the toys you can out there in that bag of yours. I'll sign. If I'm a pitcher on this team, I'd be taking a look at it.
Maybe and we saw the water bag over there.
Yeah,
by the way. Yeah. Weird contraption.
Yeah, he
That's
was.
A weird one.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I like that. All right. Our thanks to Bryan Woo. Meanwhile, a lot more to talk about with the Mariners, but there was potentially a major upheaval to the Seahawks roster earlier. We'll get into that coming up next with Wyman and Bob. This is Seattle Sports on 710.
For Down Territory, going inside the game with former Cougs and Seahawks wide receiver Michael Bumpus.
What part of football has changed, and do you like it?
2-point conversions. We are chasing points. The game has changed. 2-point conversions and fourth downs. So we're seeing coaches dive into the data like a lot of people do with baseball. And I like it, and it is weird at the same time because I'm not used to seeing these fourth down conversions or attempts and these 2-point conversions.
For Down Territory, every day at 11:15 and 1:15 on Bump and Stacy.
Homeowners, what's happening on your roof? Do you have any idea? because I know I didn't. I have no idea. I never get on my roof. So after all the rain and the snow and the trees around me, I wanted to get an idea of anything was happening I needed to address while it's a small problem before it becomes a big expensive problem. So I had Asset Roofing come out to my house, do a full inspection. I had them do it once before, probably a little over a year ago, and they did the same thing they did that time. They crushed it. They gave a very detailed report with pictures and email with all of the things. They said, let's keep an eye on this. Here's something you may want to look at. Here's something you don't need to worry about right now, but let's just watch it. And then they did a moss treatment up there and cleaned out the gutters and had a downspout that was clogged. So well worth the time, well worth what I paid to have them come out and do it. And they just crushed it. The communication is top notch. Again, with every detail about that report. And if you're somebody like me who doesn't get up on your roof, has no idea what's happening up there, it's best to get in front of any problem that could turn into a big expensive problem. Or maybe you know what's happening up there. You need a repair. You need a replacement. Asset Roofing is the best in the business. They've been in this for over 2 decades. Give them a call. You can check them out online as well at assetroofingco.com. That's assetroofingco.com.
We meet by accident, fixing every last bit, Accurate Auto Body.
If you've been in an auto accident, you have the right to take your vehicle to any repair facility. Accurate Auto Body has been family owned and operated since 1994, and they work for you, not your insurance company. Your insurance company may not love them, but you will, because
We meet by accident, fixing every last bit, Accurate Auto Body.
Spring is finally here, and so are spring projects. So get them started at Harbor Freight's parking lot sale. This weekend, save on products like pressure washers for $69.99, 42-inch roller cabinets for under $500, plus 30% off Hercules corded power tools. Whatever you do, do it for less at Harbor Freight. Valid until 3/9/25 while supplies last. Limitations apply, so spring in before it's over.
Jackson Hewitt wants you to save money on tax prep. We're saving money by having our intern rap in this commercial.
Don't stress, Jackson Hewitt's got expert tax prep, 149 or less. Yo, some tax guys lie about price. What? They got hidden fees, that ain't nice. Ain't nice. Don't ignore MC Kevin's rhyme, cause this deal's for a limited time. 149.
For tax prep that's $149 or less, hurry into Jackson Hewitt today.
No cap.
Limited time offer for new clients on federal returns. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com/149.
Lowe's knows that your deadlines don't change, even when your job does. But with Lowe's Buy Online, Pick Up in Store, we'll help you adjust on the fly. And when you absolutely can't leave the project, we can deliver to your job site as soon as same day. Lowe's knows pros. We help, you save. Valid on eligible in-stock orders and select zip codes placed by 2 p.m. for same-day delivery by 8 p.m. Subject to driver availability. Fees vary based on purchase. More terms apply. See Lowe's.com/same-day delivery for details.
Robinhood Gold members can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on annual retirement contributions. With Robinhood Gold, the perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive a 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Robinhood Financial LLC member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC.
Seattle Sports is in Arizona for spring training baseball. Go behind the scenes with Wyman and Bob all this week from 2 to 7
on Seattle Sports.
Hey, Brock Ewart here. And as a former college and professional player and quarterback in particular, the years of wear and tear and some of those hits left my knee and some of my body in some constant pain. On and off the field, the weight room, all those heavy squats and all of it. In fact, my knee was really bothering me last year. That's why I decided to try stem cell injection therapy with Dr. Daniel Nelson at Eastside Pain and Regenerative Medicine over there in Kirkland. And really, it was an awesome decision. With Dr. Dan, the procedure itself was so quick and easy. In and out, same day. Next day, I'm out watching football practice, a baseball game, and the staff was absolutely A+. And my knee, well, it's a whole lot better now, and I'm back to squatting and enjoying a much better quality of life. Call Dr. Daniel Nelson, MD, with Eastside Pain and Regenerative Medicine. Over 30 years of experience. No one, and I mean no one, has more experience in pain medicine techniques. You can reach him at 425-823-4000. That's 425-823-4000 or DanielNelsonMD.com.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. 2 lines of unlimited for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings compared to Verizon and AT&T. But don't just take our word for it.
It's not just the savings that are great with our T-Mobile plan. There's all this value from all these other things that T-Mobile offers.
T-Mobile has been such a savings for us.
We love it.
Switch today and get 2 free 5G phones like the Motorola Edge with Turbo Power charging that gives you power for the day in just 15 minutes. And customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Go to T-Mobile.com/choice55 to learn more. With AutoPay plus taxes and fees, plus $5 per line without AutoPay. Debit or bank account required. 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. Motorola Edge on us with 24 monthly bill credits and new line for well-qualified customers, plus tax and $35 per line connection charge. See details at T-Mobile.com. Motorola Edge requires 68-watt charger. Charger sold separately. Actual performance will vary based on usage and configuration.
Wyman and Bob.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
Weekdays 2 to 7.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
We are live in Peoria, Arizona. It's Wyman and Bob, Seattle Sports on 710. And sitting here in front of us right now is a guy who's probably sick of my animal questions. During the commercial break, I was peppering him with
Bob
questions.
has lots of questions.
I got lots of questions about animals. And his wife is a veterinarian. How could I not ask him? Mitch Garver is with us. How are you, man?
I'm well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate you answering all my questions about your animals. And
sure.
Everything.
You got any more? Fire away.
I probably will, man. Hey, how's spring gone for you so far? Everybody, before we just got here late Sunday night, and people talking about, hey, keep an eye on this, keep an eye on that, and people were talking about your swing. We haven't had a chance to see a game yet. Yesterday, you guys had the day off, but they said swing looks great. Did you change anything mechanically or a different approach at all?
Yeah, I think towards the end of last year, I started messing around with lowering my hands a little bit and just getting in a little bit more comfortable hitting position. And talked a lot with Edgar over the offseason, and we worked through some things. But I think right now, just the whole goal is to land balanced and land in a comfortable position where I can launch from. And so far I've seen some results early in camp and I've been feeling pretty good at the plate and just really trying to keep it simple.
How careful do you have to be as far as what exercises and lifts and things like that? Are there any that affect your swing in a bad way that you got to stay away from, or are they very specific, or are you just generally lifting weights?
Yeah, I think the one thing you got to be careful with is not lifting weights. I kind of went in this offseason and I tried to move as much weight as I possibly could and get big and strong and fast, and came out of offseason about 15 pounds heavier than when I entered it, and I feel strong, comfortable at the plate, and I think it's helped my arm. My arm feels better. Feel stronger catching, you feel stronger hitting. Everything's been feeling good.
Yeah, I'm struggling with that right now. Not working out.
It doesn't seem to be a struggle. You seem to be adapting very well.
Yeah, it's easy for me.
Hey, how we've talked to guys over the years who will DH, and a lot of them are like, I just feel better when I'm in the field. There's a different rhythm to them versus coming off the bench every couple of innings to go hit. How is it for you? You get moved into that backup catcher role. Do you feel like it's easier when you're in the game as a catcher and then you go up to hit, or is it easier when you're just DHing? How does it feel for you?
Yeah, I mean, I've always felt better when I catch. I think being able to see the speed of the game constantly, and you're involved in the game and going out there and hitting, and there's not enough time to dwell over at bats. Those kind of things all help. But I've had times where I'm really good just as a DH. I've had times where I'm really bad as a DH. But I think, what makes me sleep better at night is going home knowing I'm a catcher who can hit. And that's something that I've always done in my life. And that's kind of the plan going forward. There's going to be a stretch of time this offseason or this season when I run out and DH for 2 weeks straight, and then there's going to be a time where I don't. And that's the way we've kind of built our lineup. And we have a lot of guys that can fill in and have success. And it's just kind of like going back to that team mentality of really running out who has the best opportunity tonight.
It seemed like you and George Kirby had a pretty good connection. There was a lot of the games that you caught last year. What was that connection with those guys, and how do you develop like a rapport with the rotation?
Well, I think it worked out really well because George, when I started catching again, George was having kind of a tough time. He couldn't leave the strike zone, wasn't getting the swing and misses that he really needed. I think he got banged up for a few starts. So when I went in there, the first game we started was against Houston, obviously. Threw a really great game. I think he punched out 6 or 7, got through 6, gave us a chance to win the game. And, I told him, I'm like, George, I'm going to go down in the tunnel where you sit in between innings and we're going to talk. and because that's something he doesn't really do. And I was like, I'm going to go down there and we're going to be like, hey, these are your next 3 hitters. Bang, bang, bang. We go over them. We talk about the next inning. We talk about the previous inning. Say, hey, this worked. This looked good. Let's run this out for a little while. Whatever it may be. And I think that line of communication helped him a little bit. It was like, we're going to talk about things in the middle of the game. And that's how you learn who they are as a pitcher. That's how you learn what they can and can't do. And I think George is a guy in particular, like, he can do anything that you ask him to do. He can throw any pitch in any location, and that's what makes him special. So it's like you really have to be a catcher with an imagination and go out there and push the limits on what this guy can do, and he can do anything.
Hey, you mentioned talking to Edgar and things like that. I mean, what a cool thing to have somebody as accomplished as Edgar, at your, the greatest DH of all time, at your disposal. And he came in with Dan the last 34 games of the season. What did he shed light on anything for you? Was there a light bulb moment with him, or is there just something about the way he communicates that speaks to hitters? I mean, everybody raves about Edgar, but what's your interaction been like?
I think it's just, he did it for so long that it gives you that calmness that the game is not easy, and he'll tell you that. And I think each night when we had our hitters meeting, we'd come up with a clear game plan of what we wanted to do that night, and the whole lineup bought into it. And I think everybody just felt at ease going up to the plate, knowing that, I have a simple goal in mind. I'm going to try to hit the ball hard through the middle of the field. If it doesn't work, the guy behind me's got me, and the guy behind him has it. So it was just that 9-versus-1 mentality we had, and I think we ended the season really strong.
Yeah, I thought, I always try to put this the right way, but as a football player, try to turn my brain off a little bit. Now that sounds bad, like you need to have your brain right, but there are some times where I remember there's too much, like I had to simplify. Is that something that you struggle with as a hitter? Is that because you're getting lots of different advice and things like that? Is that part of it, or is it just being
prepared? Yeah. I think everybody, there's so much information in today's game.
Yeah.
I think everybody has to be able to filter a lot of it out and go out there and just play baseball. Sometimes having a simpler approach is easier than trying to overdo things.
What was the offseason like for you? Obviously last year didn't go the way anybody wanted, and you come to a new team and it didn't go the way you wanted. Are you a guy that overanalyzes? Do you stew on it in the offseason, or did you leave it all behind and say, I'm taking vacation and just getting a break? How do you come away from that and leave that in the past?
No, I did a good amount of self-reflection this past offseason and realized that it was just a down year. It wasn't the year that I expected to have, and I think maybe I went in with a little bit too high expectations. But it was nice to get home and relax and kind of filter through some things that I thought went well, things that didn't go well, things that I can improve on. And this game is so much about growth and change, and nobody's ever got it figured out. So to be able to have those reflections was important. But throughout the offseason, got over it because, another year's coming up and we expect big things.
Yeah, and you mentioned you have kids that are 4 and 1, and I don't know, it was the last 3 or 4 years I had kids, and it just made it easier, and it's more fun to come home to those guys. And how much did that help you, having kids?
Yeah, they're all right, man. They wear me out, but they're a lot of fun. It'll be better this year because our 1-year-old will be sleeping normal, and he's walking around just ripping the house apart. So he's the crazy one in the family so far, but it's been fun. It gives you a new perspective on the game. It's when my first son was born, I remember showing up to the field and I was like, man, it just feels different, right? You're not really playing for your career anymore. You're kind of playing for your legacy and your family's legacy. And like, man, I hope I play long enough my kid knows what I do for work or what I did. Right. They definitely lighten things up.
Yeah. And you get to come home to a couple dogs too. So that's another good thing.
Let's talk about dogs.
Let's talk about that. Well, your wife is a veterinarian, which is very cool. And during the break, we were talking about an event that you were a part of in Texas, where they adopted out a couple thousand pets. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
In one event.
Yeah. So my wife worked at the Humane Society out in Texas, and she would do like free spay and neuter clinics, all pro bono. She would go out, every other week and just run those and spay and neuter hundreds of dogs at a time. I don't know. But it was great to see her work, and she loves her job, and she's really good at it, and she's really smart. But yeah, we were in Texas my second year, so 23. We had the largest adoption clinic in all of Southwest, and it was held at Globe Life. I think we adopted out 1,000 3,000, 4,000, something like that,
cool.
animals in one day, and it was really cool. And we're firm believers in adoption. All the dogs that we've had together as a couple have been adopted. Our first dog, his name is Benny. He was a boxer. He ended up passing away when he was about 3.5 or 4 years old. He had cancer.
Oh.
So it was pretty sad. But from the darkness comes the light. We decided to create a scholarship program at Oregon State where my wife went to school. It's called the Benny Garver Endowment Scholarship. So any out-of-state students who are going to be veterinarians and specialize in cancer research, it's a $50,000 grant each year for books, housing, whatever those kids need to get through school. So we do that each year.
So can people get involved with that? Is there a website, something they can?
I don't think so. It's all taken care of.
It's all taken care of?
Yeah, it's all taken care of. It's something we believe in. It's something my wife really wanted to do, and it's I think it's important to do things like that. And it's just a great program. I mean, it's a nice scholarship for any kids that are going to that school and looking to do cancer research.
The name again, one more time?
Benny Garver Endowment Fund.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I'm a big fan of your wife now. I've never met her, but I'm a big fan now. Hey, really appreciate you taking some time to sit down with us, man. We wish you nothing but the best this season and look forward to talking to you again.
Sure, guys. Thank you.
Thanks so much. There you go. There's Mitch Garver, everybody. Coming up, what if one game changed the entire course of DK Metcalf's career with the Seahawks? It's What If Wednesday. We'll do it next. It's Wyman and Bob, Seattle Sports on 710.
The John Schneider Show.
Every Thursday until draft day on Wyman and Bob.
We are now speaking with the architect of your Seattle Seahawks.
How we doing, football fans? With Seahawks president of football operations and general manager Jon Schneider.
My job is to do what's best for the Seattle Seahawks organization. I have to keep wrapping my mind around that and trying to communicate effectively.
Listen live Thursdays at 4 p.m. or watch the interviews on the Seattle Sports YouTube page.
What's the standard the Seahawks defense needs to be held to under Mike McDonald?
The Jon Schneider Show.
Brought to you by Pizza Hut.
Hey, have you been considering surgery or even joint replacement? It's Dave Wyman here, and after years of football, I know all about bad knees. So I recently had a consultation with Dr. Mark Wagner, MD, at Seattle Sports and Regenerative Medicine. And I've heard so many patients just rave about stem cell therapy with Dr. Wagner. People with severe osteoarthritis, even bone on bone. Well, they're back hiking, jogging, playing tennis, skiing, golfing, even just going up and down the stairs, playing with the kids and grandkids, and doing it without pain and without surgery. Dr. Wagner's 60-minute outpatient procedure uses your own stem cells, which can regenerate your own cartilage in your own joints. Dr. Mark Wagner is a board-certified Seattle physician with over 30 years of experience, and he's performed over 20,000 stem cell procedures, and he's one of the few doing it the right way. So whether it's a shoulder, hip, elbow, ankle, wrist, or knee, before choosing surgery, see Dr. Mark Wagner first. Get the facts, then get back in the game at drmarkwagnermd.com.
Over the past decade, Washington state politicians have doubled state spending with no improvements to the issues we care about. Instead, we now have the third highest cost of living in the nation and a $12 billion deficit. It's time to tell legislators we need better results, not bigger taxes. Act now at affordablewashington.org. Paid for by people for an affordable Washington and Olympia, Washington. Top 5 donors are Washington Alliance for Competitive Economy, Microsoft, Madrona, T-Mobile, and Alaska Air.
John here with Happy Hauler. Furniture and household items you plan to throw away? We'll take them and prioritize donating and recycling, keeping items out of the landfill. Happy Hauler is Seattle's eco-friendly junk removal. HappyHauler.com, hauling with a heart.
Getting engaged? At Shane Company, dream engagement rings are our specialty. We have the most beautiful natural and lab-grown diamonds, hand-picked in every price range, ready to compare side by side. Shop online at shaneco.com or in store. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
This is the story of the one. He's responsible for keeping a leading healthcare facility clean and safe. And he trusts Grainger's high-quality HVAC cleaning and safety products, combined with their world-class supply chain, to consistently deliver, ensuring he's covered inside and out, so he can focus on keeping his facility clean to help protect the health of everyone inside. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Something amazing is happening here. AI is increasing workloads on CPUs and GPUs.
But this company's laptops are more than keeping pace. That's because CDW worked with them to future-proof their laptop fleet by configuring them with devices enabled with AMD Ryzen AI. Improve performance and free up resources with AMD Ryzen and CDW. Make amazing happen. Find out more at cdw.com/AMD client.
Bonneville International radio station contests are open to participants 18 years of age or older that are residents of Washington State unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contests are not eligible to win unless the station otherwise specifies at its own discretion. Persons who have won in the last 60 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available on seattlesports.com or in person at the station during regular business hours.
We are Seattle Sports, the home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports.
Watch your favorite show live at seattlesports.com.
Luxury awaits at Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel, where comfort meets elegance. It's Mike Salk here, and this summer you can experience breathtaking Cascade views, world-class dining, and of course the best entertainment. Elevate your next getaway by combining effortless style with the utmost in relaxation. The hotel opens this summer with deluxe king and 2 queen rooms, premiums, grand suites, signature suites, and the breathtaking views of the Cascades and the Snoqualmie Valley. For more details, go to snocasino.com. Seattle's closest is now Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel.
There she is, founder and CEO. High five.
Dave can't stop celebrating with every business owner in town.
All right, Baker Man, high five.
He's sharing the excitement of big savings with the Comcast Business 5-year price lock guarantee.
Oh, up top, bite shop. Yeah.
It's 5 years of gig speed internet.
Quick, high five.
5 years of advanced security.
5 years.
And 5 years of a great rate that won't change.
Yeah, law partners. Chamberlain, Messethorpe, Dubois.
All from the company with 99.9% network reliability. Switch today and get the 5-year price lock guarantee.
5 years.
It's back, but only for a limited time.
Woo.
Powering 5 years of savings, powering possibilities. Comcast Business.
Can't forget you, voiceover guy.
Ah, thanks, Dave.
High five.
Ends 3/9/25. Guaranteed rate applies to monthly service charge for new customers on qualifying internet bundle, excluding taxes and fees. Other restrictions apply.
Seattle, it's almost showtime at T-Mobile Park. Be here when the action gets started March 27th with Mariners opening day, featuring a ceremonial first pitch from Hall of Famer Ichiro. The fun continues with Randy Arozarena crossed-armed hoodie night March 28th and Hello Kitty bucket hat night March 29th. Then don't miss the 3-day Julio bat flip bobble giveaway March 31st to April 2nd with tickets starting at $10. So get ready, get set, Mariners baseball is finally on deck. Grab your tickets at mariners.com.
What? It's time for What If Wednesday.
Coach would have put me in fourth quarter. We'd have been state champions, no doubt.
Wyman and Bob rewrite the scripts of major moves and moments in sports every Wednesday afternoon. Now step into an alternative reality with Wyman and Bob.
It is What If Wednesday, presented by Mazda of Everett. And once again, thanks to Mitch Garver, who joined us in the previous segment. In case you guys are just tuning in, good to catch up with him. We spoke with him after his walk-off home run last year, but that was on the phone. So kind of good to talk to him face-to-face. And you know, just solid dude. Quiet, pretty reserved, but a really nice guy. And obviously he and his wife doing some very cool things for us animal lovers out there, too.
I like that, that conversation about, Kirby. And hey, we're going to talk through it. And it kind of reminds you of, like, the times that Cal has gone out and, had conversations with pitchers.
You found a way to squeeze Cal into the conversation again.
Well, they're both catchers. Was there not a
no, there's a
there?
natural. Just you always find an avenue. Always an avenue for Cal.
Oh, no.
We'll talk. We'll catch up with him too. He'll appreciate.
Well, we
that.
already caught up with him, so we don't really need to talk to him.
Well, we will. For the listeners, love hearing from Cal, so we'll talk to him while we're here, and Dan Wilson and others. But it is time for What If Wednesday, and today's question is: what if DK doesn't get hurt in Week 7, Dave? Because you look at the first 7 games of the season for him. He had 61 targets. He had 35 receptions for 568 yards and 3 touchdowns. So less than the halfway point. He was well on his way to over 1,000 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns. Then he misses Week 8, misses Week 9. Then you look at the last 8 games, just 41 targets, so 1 more game, but he had 20 fewer targets. 31 catches, 424 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, maybe during that time, week 8 and week 9, and then getting back into it, they had to rely more on JSN. And so maybe Geno got more used to throwing to him. But, yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's part of why. I mean, I think the big mystery is, why did DK, especially the timing of it, decide to announce to the team that he wants to be traded? And I keep going back to what I said earlier. I wonder if it's looking at this new offense and realizing, hey, I'm not going to get the opportunities here that I thought I would. I don't know. It's really hard to explain. But, yeah, and also you could say, well, he was hurt and he's coming off an injury, so maybe he wasn't at totally full speed.
Yeah, it's he was on such a good pace in those first 7 games, and you do see the targets go down significantly. He only had 4 fewer catches, but 20 fewer targets. So just kind of interesting looking at the numbers. And who knows? Well, maybe it'll come to light as days go on and weeks go on what was behind the trade request. I'm sure he'll do an interview somewhere down the road with, I don't know, Stephen A. Smith or somebody. I don't know. But he'll whether it was money, because we speculated it could be a million different things. Maybe he wanted an extension this year, and maybe the Seahawks said, no, we'd like you to play out your deal. Or maybe they were willing to do an extension, but he wanted this amount of money, and they were going, well, we're thinking this amount of money. Because by all estimations, the conversations have been going on for a couple of weeks. So that was in Brady Henderson's story. So, yeah, what ultimately led to him going, all right, did the Seahawks dig their heels in and go, look, here's the offer, or we'll talk about this after the season. Who knows? Yeah,
I don't know what sent him that way, because I know nobody's very happy with DK right now. So I'm curious. I thought in the beginning when they signed him to that 3-year deal that they got a pretty good deal on DK.
Yeah.
But
relative to other big time,
relative to what everybody else was getting, and just I mean he seemed okay with that, and just seemed like I'm happy with this contract, and as long as they get me the ball, fine. But maybe he thought that that was what the problem is. I keep again going back to what this new offense is going to look like for him, but I have to say I was a little bit on his side as far as the frustration goes.
Yeah,
I thought that there were many times where why not throw it up to DK, and it's not like they were necessarily doing that to the other receivers instead of him, but they were finding ways to get JSN, especially the ball, and not so much DK.
Yeah.
But,
you talked about times where he was singled up and there was no safety help over the top, yet they still didn't go to him.
Right. Yeah, so there were lots of times. And then, the other thing about DK is that a lot of times when you do throw the ball up for him, he's gonna draw a penalty. I mean, and he drew a lot of penalties. So I don't know. That part was really weird, but I don't know. You look at the targets, like you said, it's pretty drastic. I mean, 7 games, 61 targets, 8 games, 41. So I don't remember him out there limping around or anything, but it felt like the game plan went away from him. And I don't know how much you can tell by talking or looking at, Kubiak's offense, and it sounds like they want to be more run central, and I feel like that's going to be a really good thing for this team. But maybe he saw the writing on the wall and was like, okay, you got JSN, they obviously love him, and they're going to be running the ball a lot, so it just means less opportunities for me. That could have been what his conversation was there with the Seahawks. But either way, I still don't understand the timing.
Yeah, the timing's there's no way around it. And I put it on his reps more than I don't know that he's thinking ahead that he even knew that the Seahawks were going to make an announcement. Obviously, they all work for him, but I don't know. Did he know the Seahawks were making that announcement today? I don't know.
Maybe not. But I put that on the reps as well. But like I always say, you control your agent, and I would have thought, maybe we'll hear. Maybe he'll come out and say, yeah, that was a big mistake. We didn't mean to do that. And, I asked somebody, do you think that was a mistake or was it on purpose? And he said, it was definitely a mistake.
Yeah.
He knew that was the answer.
On a lot of levels.
Yeah. So, it goes against everything that I thought about DK, but maybe we'll get some clarification.
Yeah. Why don't they just come out of the gates and tell us what happened? Come on, let's just have full transparency here.
Well, I don't know how you could look at that and, and go. I mean, if you were going to make that announcement or make that known to everybody, and you had a half an hour, when they announced that they were going to cut Tyler, then why wouldn't you go, hey, let's put this off? That's enough time. Everybody, word travels fast now with Twitter and the internet and all that.
Unless the sources had already spoken to Schefter. I don't know. Could you get to Schefter and say, hey, don't say anything yet? Would Schefter respect that? I have no idea. I don't know.
You're going to blame it on Schefter?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Yeah. He could have held off on that. I don't know what his problem is, why he hates Tyler so much. Who knows? Maybe all of that will come to light at some point. Meanwhile, we have plenty of Mariners questions, and our guy Jon Morosi luckily has plenty of answers. He's going to join us next as we continue live from Peoria, Arizona. It's Wyman and Bob, Seattle Sports on 710.
For Down Territory, going inside the game with former Cougs and Seahawks wide receiver Michael Bumpus.
What part of football has changed, and do you like it?
2-point conversions. We are chasing points. The game has changed. 2-point conversions and fourth downs. So we're seeing coaches dive into the data like a lot of people do with baseball. And I like it, and it is weird at the same time because I'm not used to seeing these fourth down conversions or attempts and these 2-point conversions.
For Down Territory, every day at 11:15 and 1:15 on Bumpin' Stacy.
Well, this week's First Mark Challenge victory goes to Norm. Norm, why did you call First Mark Insurance?
Spending too much money on insurance, and it just kept on going up higher and higher and higher. And this last time, I did the First Mark Challenge.
So they were able to save you some money, Norm?
Oh, yeah, at least $2,000 a year.
What?
At least.
Wow. You ever feel like, man, I wish I would have taken that First Mark Challenge earlier?
Yes. I mean, $2,000 I could have saved a year, over probably 4 or 5 years. Wow.
How would you describe their customer service?
Fantastic. Beyond expectation. Call First Mark. They treat you like a real person, that they have your best interest in mind.
Norm did it. My family did it. You got to do it. And it's totally free. Go take the First Mark Challenge. See how much money they can save you like they did Norm, and how much better your coverage will get to. Maybe you will be our next First Mark Challenge victory I get to talk to. Just go to firstmarkinsurance.com. First Mark Insurance. They work for you.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-838-6161. That's 800-838-6161. 800-838-6161.
Someone had a birthday.
Yep, 50. Can't believe it.
50 years of wisdom.
Great segue. We have health news, a CDC update.
Pneumococcal vaccination is now recommended for adults 50 or older. Says here, we're over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50.
I don't love those odds.
Same. Look what I found. Pfizer's Prevnar 20 is proven to help protect adults against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease in just 1 dose, and millions have already gotten it.
Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you have a severe allergy to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may lower your response. Common side effects include injection site pain and swelling, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138. Visit Prevnar20.com or talk to your doctor or pharmacist.
I'm on Prevnar20.com now, scheduling my appointment.
Good idea. And happy 50th.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
Are you really that different than the rest of us?
We are. As a fiduciary, we always focus on what's best for our clients.
What services do you offer besides investing?
We have a team of specialists in financial planning, estate planning, and more.
Your clients rely on you for all that?
Yes, we ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Okay, but you still sell commission-based products, right?
No, because we believe that's a conflict of interest. We prioritize service over sales goals.
So, then how do your fees work?
We have a simple and transparent fee that's a percentage of our clients' portfolios. So we do better when our clients do better.
Wow, we're more different than I thought.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at fisherinvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Meanwhile, at Xfinity.
So, influencer life going well?
Oh, yeah. I'm up to 32 followers.
Oh, that's something.
Yeah, posting my tap dancing videos is easier than ever because we engineered Xfinity Internet with 99.99% network reliability.
Plus, Xfinity Mobile with Wi-Fi Power Boost gives you ultra-fast Wi-Fi at home and on the go. But wait, tap dancing? You don't tap dance.
Hey, what I lack in skill, I make up with passion.
Do more of what you love and love how fast you do it with Xfinity Internet and mobile. Through April 21st, get 300 megabit Xfinity Internet and one unlimited mobile line together for $25 a month for 1 year and save over $1,000 in your first year versus other major carriers. Plus, ask how to get iPhone 16e on us. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Equipment tax and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply. Actual speeds vary. Savings compared to Verizon 5G Internet plus one unlimited welcome line and AT&T Internet 300 plus one unlimited starter SL line. Xfinity Internet required. Actual savings vary.
This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports. Seattle Sports Snapshot.
The four-time Pro Bowl defensive end Max Crosby agreed to a 3-year, $106.5 million contract extension with the Las Vegas Raiders that makes him the highest-paid non-quarterback in NFL history. Sources speaking with Adam Schefter today announcing that. Meanwhile, as far as the Cowboys go, they restructured Dak Prescott's contract, no longer the highest 2025 salary cap figure in the NFL. They restructured it to create $36.6 million in cap space. Cowboys converted $45.75 million of his base salary to a signing bonus, reducing his cap figure from $89.89 million to $53.29 million.
Snapshot brought to you by Miller Lite. When it's game time, it's Miller time.
This hour is serviced by the Lee Johnson Auto family.
I've never heard a person walk out of the stadium and say, wow, I wish that game would have included more waiting.
He is an endless source of baseball and hockey knowledge.
José Berríos, el lanzador de Puerto Rico, el Clásico Mundial de Béisbol.
Jon Morosi, every week with Wyman and Bob.
You're being serious with me right now?
We are out here in Peoria, Arizona. Mariners are out here having a great time talking to a lot of these guys. The only thing missing from this, Dave, is this guy. He should be out here with us.
My fault.
He's with us on the Emerald. He's with us on the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook Hotline. Our buddy, our pal, Jon Morosi is here. How are you, man?
Gentlemen, I wish you a beautiful good afternoon there in the western side of the valley there in Peoria. I do have to confess, I just did not do a very good job of coordinating my travel schedule with yours. I was in Phoenix last week. That's my apology. I do love Peoria, one of my favorite spots in the Cactus League. Great community, great restaurants around there in Peoria. So I trust that you are enjoying a wonderful week out there.
Yeah, there's plenty of choices of restaurants here.
Every chain that's ever existed exists out here in a 1 mile radius.
Yeah. I'll tell you this. So I covered the Arizona Fall League when I was early in my tenure as a beat reporter covering the Tigers. And the Tigers players that year were actually playing for the team in Peoria. So as I recall it, I I might have done a lot of walking, where I basically stayed at a hotel walking distance from the ballpark, and it was a lot of Texas Roadhouse. It was a lot of just hopscotching around the different options you've got there off of Bell Road. It was a beautiful time. I loved it, and I'm sure that Peoria has grown up in the years since then.
Yeah, it is nice out here. It's a nice area, and people seem to enjoy coming out here, certainly getting out of bad weather in other places. And it's not been scorching hot by any stretch out here, John. We've been freezing.
You guys
by
look
the
comfortable.
end of
For
the show
those of us, so if you're just joining us on the radio side of things, I can confirm right now, Wyman and Bob are wearing shorts, loving life, and enjoying the outdoors there in Phoenix, or in Peoria.
You didn't see us at the end of the previous two shows where we were doing calisthenics during commercial breaks to stay warm, but we'll move on from that. Hey, I'm assuming you read or at least got wind of the article written by Bob Nightengale today in USA Today that quoted Justin Turner and some of his thoughts on the Mariners and what they haven't done with this organization.
Well, what I'll say is this: there is. And certainly JT has been around and played for a lot of different teams, and so he does have, I think, to some extent, the stature to speak on such matters. I think that two things can be true. There can both be plenty of talent still in this organization, and they can, and I believe they have, missed some of their best opportunities to win with it. And ultimately, that goes down to ownership and when they're prepared to spend. And for a variety of reasons, some teams are willing to spend at times when others are not. Do I think that if the Mariners had invested more in their teams, if you want to call it 22, 23, 24, would they have a banner or two, a division title, an American League title by now, World Series title? Very possibly. But they can't go back and relitigate the series against the Astros. They can't do that right now. But they do have, I think, still a pretty good foundation with a chance to win in 2025. But I agree with the general premise that they could have done more with the core that they've had, especially on the pitching side, for the last several years.
Hey, JP, we've had Ryan Dempster. We had him on yesterday, and he was talking about Bryce Miller and, just really pumping him up. And then we heard Kirkshin say that Kirby could be the best pitcher in all of baseball. When's the last time you remember? I mean, especially for national guys, JP, I mean, I feel like from afar, a lot of times you go, okay, you look at their first two guys or maybe three guys, but it's amazing how much people are paying attention to this rotation, and it's not just us here in Seattle. And I don't remember a team being talked about that deep into the rotation on a national level.
It's rare, and it hasn't happened very often. You think about the Phillies, of course, their pitchers were a little bit deeper into their careers when they assembled that rotation for the ages that they had back in 2011. Halladay, Lee, Oswald, they just Hamels, of course, at that time, Blanton. They had one of the best rotations ever. They didn't win, we should point out, but they had on paper one of the best that we had ever seen. And the Mariners in a different age bracket have a similar setup right now. And I think part of the reason why perhaps Tim and Ryan feel that way, I know I certainly have the same attitude. I'm excited to watch Miller pitch tonight, is that they have this very unique moment in time where they're not a very expensive staff yet, and yet they've done it long enough that they are innovating at the major league level. I thought it was a great story written by Daniel Kramer recently at MLB.com, where he went down and basically talked with all the starters about the new pitch that they're working on and why. And if it's just a little bit of a fraction of different movement, that's the idea with Miller trying to incorporate that cutter a little bit. That's what he's doing. We'll watch it tonight. But it's that really nice sweet spot of young enough where you probably feel good enough to incorporate things and your body is still giving you good feedback on the ability to incorporate and synthesize some of these changes, but you've also been around long enough to know how to handle things physically and emotionally on the mound. I'm glad to hear that Ryan and Tim feel that way about this rotation. I do too. And it's why basically everybody in baseball is well aware that if the lineup gets about 10 or 15% better, this is almost certainly a playoff team. And that's why I think Mariner fans, as much as there have been criticisms that are legitimate, in my opinion, totally legit criticisms. I get it. But there's still a lot of potential for this team to win with this rotation. When you're going that deep and talking about potential Cy Young winners who might start the third or fourth game of the year, that's a pretty special rotation.
You know, one of the and Justin Turner in this article touched on that. He called this a unicorn rotation. And his quote I thought was interesting. He said, I told him several times, talking about the front office, I told him several times this offseason, you have a unicorn of a pitching staff. This might be the best 5 starting pitchers in the history of the game. And then he listed a few. He said, I mean, find me a better 5-man. There's obviously been teams that have had elite 3 guys, and he points to Maddox and Glavine and Smoltz, and he talks about the 20-game winners in Baltimore in 71 with Palmer, McNally, and Culler and Dobson, and then, you know, the Mets with David Cohn and Dwight Gooden and Ojeda and Sid Fernandez. But he's saying 1 through 5. I don't know. Is that too lofty a praise right now, or do you look at that and say, you know, that may be true if we're talking 1 through 5? Maybe amongst the greatest, if not the greatest we've seen?
It's a fair statement, and especially if you transcend the realm of what they've already accomplished to just the pure stuff and the pitch making. And if JT is suggesting, and I think he is reading between the lines here, that Bryan Woo or Miller, however you want to describe the order of pitchers, that one of the two of them is the best fifth starter in baseball, I'd probably agree with that. I don't know that you could find a better one. There again, if Jackson Jobe is the Tigers' fifth starter, he's got stuff for days and is electrifying. The Dodgers probably will have an elite rotation, assuming health for everybody, obviously, and they'll have Sasaki start game 2, and then you start wondering, okay, well, where does Blake Snell pitch, and is he a third starter? Is Glasnow a fourth starter? Again, if that's your rotation, and if Gonsolin, who's been a Cy Young candidate in the past, if he's your fifth starter, that's a pretty good fifth starter too. But I see what
Ohtani comes into play at some point.
Right, exactly, and Ohtani, and by the way, Kershaw too. So at some point, I think JT is making very valid points. We're going to need to see, and now this is where it comes into play, they've got to have some team success. It's amazing how a lot of these teams I'm mentioning here, there have been others that have had really good starting groups of 5, and certainly in eras where they stayed healthier. But you don't remember them unless they actually get you to the postseason, or at least win a couple rounds. I think about the Cubs of 2003, Pryor, Woods, Zambrano, Clement, and I think the fifth starter would have been Sean Estes, I believe, at the time. So they had a really good group, but they lost in the NLCS, so we don't maybe quite talk about them in the same way that you talk about the championship teams. The Giants, when they had Jonathan Sanchez, Bumgarner. Again, we could play this game all day, but what Turner is talking about, and I think is fair to say, yes, pure stuff, you're not going to find a better, I'll say this, you're not going to find a better fifth starter than Bryan Woo. I agree with that. But if we're going to be having this conversation over a couple iced teas over at the Texas Roadhouse nearby you right now, 20 years from now, they got to fly a flag or two before we can say that. And I think that's now the next step for this team to enter that conversation.
Of course, JP has names.
Of course.
The nearby.
I bet he could name them all.
Should we try that place, by the way, JP?
The Texas Roadhouse, it's solid. I mean, there certainly are some better options. There's some really good Mexican food out in the west part of town there. So yes, but the Texas Roadhouse, solid.
Okay. Hey, I'll keep this brief. What do you think the Oakland A's are thinking? I mean, it's just very interesting that I imagine if you're an Oakland A fan and you're kind of pissed that all of a sudden they're going to spend money in the offseason when they move the team to Sacramento. We were talking about that earlier. Yeah, I mean, are they getting serious about it, do you think?
It's complicated, as most things are with the A's, but I do believe they're going to be a better team this year than they were a year ago. Mark Kotsay, in my opinion, had one of the better years of any manager in Major League Baseball last year to get that team to be competitive. Now, they didn't have a winning record, but they were not an easy win in most cases. And it was against the backdrop of the final year in Oakland and all of the drama that surrounded it. So I think for those reasons, and you consider Severino coming in, looking at guys who are going to be part of the future for that team, like Butler and Rooker, I like this team. And Are they as good as Seattle? No. Are they as good as Houston? Probably not. The Angels, I think the Angels have gotten better as well. But I look at the way that this team has played, and I think that Oakland's younger players are going to keep getting better. I'm a big believer in Geloff. They've got Wilson, who I believe has a chance to be a pretty good everyday player in the major leagues relatively soon. So I like Oakland. Not as much as the other teams in the division, not as much as Seattle or Houston in particular. And I think Texas will bounce back, and I think for them to have Young back and healthy is really important, playing third base. But I think they'll pick up a few more wins than they had a year ago, and they are not going to be an easy team to beat. And I do think that probably the fans in the East Bay that are not following them to Sacramento probably have some bitterness about the way that it's all unfolded.
Hey, how do you think this outfield how do you view it? We're looking at this and talking about the offseason, going, all right, yeah, they didn't do as much as I certainly wanted them to do by any stretch. But what they do lean on, and it is fair and realistic, is, all right, you got a full season now of Victor Robles and a Randy Rosarena, and hopefully a more consistent version of Julio Rodriguez, which, you know, and two of the three are stellar defensively in Julio and Victor Robles. So what do you think realistically what is a realistic expectation, I should say, for the two guys that will be here for 162 as opposed to 77 games for Robles and, 54, I think, for Rosarena?
This could be one of the most talented outfields in Major League Baseball this year, period. I feel that strongly about their ability. Now, again, they've got to put it together, but tools-wise, the power of a Rosarena, his speed, Robles, his ability to wreak havoc, I think he has found his revived second home, if you will, in Seattle, and I think Julio is going to have a bounce-back year, too, and we know what his tools are. So you think about stolen bases, and this is where, again, you can't steal first base. How many times have we talked about this before? But I do believe this will be one of the better base-running teams in baseball this season, especially when you talk about those three. Crawford runs the bases really well. Depending on how many games Bliss will start at second base, he's a really good base runner, too. So they've got, I think, the ability to be a smart base-running team. Dylan Moore does the same thing. So they're a smart base-running team. I think they're a pretty athletic team. And the outfield can give them that attitude, if you will. I think that bravado and swagger plays, I believe, in the modern game. And so it just seems like Robles and everything he's said this spring really feels like he's found a home in Seattle. A Rosarena is a big moment guy. You've seen it, whether it's the playoffs, World Baseball Classic. He loves the stage like that. And I think the better that this team plays, the louder that T-Mobile gets, the better that Julio plays, the more dazzling catches Julio makes, the more that I think you'll get out of a Rosarena. And I think, too, let's not forget, Montez has played well this spring as well. It's been a short look. He's only 20 years of age. He's a fellow Cuban, as a Rosarena is. He's been a right fielder pretty much since the very beginning. I don't think they're counting on him this year, but it would not surprise me if there's an injury if you get towards the second half of the season, if he's someone that you see called up to the big leagues. He's, again, very young. He's 20 years of age, but you look at his tools. It's a loud sound off his bat. He had a really good minor league season last year. I think people around the industry believe he is someone that can be a major league player by 2026, if not 2025.
Hey, JP, I don't know how much you've looked at Harry Ford, but we talked to him yesterday. Just an old soul and
yes.
Just a really nice guy. And I was complimenting him because he actually asked a question about one of us during the interview, and
he speaks in paragraphs too. He's a very, very thoughtful interview. He's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I like Harry a lot.
Yeah, but I mean, as far as the plan for him, because I think Justin Halter was kind of shaking us off. Like, we were talking about, are you going to trade him? And it was like a no. And then is it, what's going to be his role?
DH or catcher.
And then, like, is he the heir apparent to catcher? But I feel like that's a long ways off. Do you think eventually somebody's going to make them an offer that they can't refuse, the Mariners, on Harry Ford?
That's a great question. And it's like a three-dimensional chess dilemma here, because of course your willingness to move forward right now relates to a couple things. Number one, how confident are you in your ability to sign Cal Raleigh long term? That's a big question. If you believe that you can sign Cal, and you've got a chance to keep him around long term, then you're a little bit more willing to move Ford. Or Ford's continued presence in your organization gives you a bit of leverage, perhaps, in how you approach the negotiations with Cal. We know how popular Cal Raleigh is. I think everybody that loves the Mariners wants Cal Raleigh to be there as long as possible. And if there's anyone who understands the value of a player like Cal Raleigh, it's his new manager, Dan Wilson. So that comfort level, we've said it before, it's not an easy staff to catch. And for that reason, among many, you want Cal to get as many starts as possible. Now, if Ford is in the major leagues and he's the second catcher and he's picking up some DH days, that's a role, but I have a hard time seeing that as a role at the same time that Mitch Garver is on the team. And again, that's maybe why there's a little bit of reluctance on Justin's part to say, yeah, we envision this role, because it's going to sound a lot like what Garver's role is supposed to be. And Mitch Haniger still has some potential DH days as well. So there's just a lot of other factors here. All Ford can do is get ready with the best care and approach behind the plate that he possibly can, and by all accounts, including your interview with him, he is doing that. But it's a fair question to ask Justin, and unless they clear a spot for him pretty soon, he's in a situation where it's likely going to take an injury of some length to get him up to the big leagues in any sort of meaningful role in 2025. And if that's the case, you start wondering, is he perhaps of greater value to the team to bring back a power bat given the scarcity of catching around the major leagues? And that is the thing that ultimately might tip the scales in favor of trading Ford rather than simply waiting around for the right opportunity to arrive to promote him.
Hey, before we let you go, John, where are you at with the Astros? We see that they're moving Jose Altuve, who's been a Gold Glover at second base. He's played all but, I believe, 2 games in his entire career at second base. He's going to be their left fielder, and he's going to have to cover a lot of ground with those tiny little steps he takes. So what do you – are we – I'm hoping we see the end of him is what I'm ultimately hoping for. But, I mean, do you like that move? And, B, do you believe that this is a team that could be headed toward a decline?
It's an interesting decision. I still think they find a way to keep it going for one more year. Hunter Brown took a pretty big step last year, as did Ronel Blanco. But you're right. It's a different look to their club. They've lost Alex Bregman. For the moment, at least, it's Brendan Rodgers, who once upon a time was a very highly regarded prospect who could come in and play second base. Then they've got Paredes playing third, and then Altuve in the outfield. I think Jose will be adequate out there. To your point, it's not as though he has super long strides to go run it down in left field and left center.
You had to get that shot in.
But
it felt good. It felt good.
But remember, left field in Houston is a pretty small left field. Altuve, and again, I'll see how they handle things on the road. You're playing 81 games in a left field where really there's not a lot of room to run around. I'm not saying that. I mean, I would say probably Dave could do a great job out there, but we're not going to find out right now. Okay, so the fact that it's a smaller outfield helps. It is a little curious of a decision. I thought when there were some whispers about him playing left early on, I thought it was because, okay, are they trying to create some pathways for Bregman to come back? But all of a sudden, they seem to want to bring in Rodgers and add his bat. Of course, you look at the rest of the outfield. They've got Myers probably in center, McCormick in right. They've got Dubon as sort of a utility player in a lot of ways. It's not the same lineup they had before. I'll grant you that. And there was even a bit of an issue recently with Walker having an oblique thing, I believe, in the last couple of days. So there are some signs that would say that their win total is about to come down a little bit. So now it's up to either the Mariners or the Rangers, perhaps, to surge upward and say, listen, we're going to collect some of these wins that you're about to abdicate and find a way to reshuffle these standings, because it's been a long time with these Astros at or near the top of the American League West, and they're not going to go quietly. But I do agree, Bob, that there are some early warning signs of where the Astros are in their evolution as a team.
He is the great Jon Morosi with us each and every week. He should be out here with us in Arizona, but we got him on the phone, so that's good enough, I guess.
I appreciate the grace you're giving me on that one. It's my mistake, my fault. I did, though, the fact that I was here, I was able to at least cobble together some notes on the Kraken's deal there with Gord and Bjorkstrand and a 5th-round pick going to Tampa, and Michael Eyssimont coming up to the Seattle Kraken. So maybe they're not even done yet making deals. Deadline's a couple days away. So busy times in the NHL as well.
I love it. John, we appreciate you, man. Have a great rest of your week. We'll talk next week.
All the best. We'll catch up next time. Thank you so much.
There you go. Jon Morosi, everybody. Always a fantastic conversation. If you missed any part of that, tuned in the middle of it, you'll be able to find it on the podcast page after the show at seattlesports.com. Just click the podcast tab. Scroll down to our picture, click on that, and you'll find it waiting for you. Don't forget to click subscribe. Then you never have to worry about it again. It's completely free. Coming up, we might have to ban one of our favorite guests from appearing on our show ever again. We'll tell you why when we sweep the dial. Coming up with Wyman and Bob, this is Seattle Sports on 710.
Seattle Sports, your home for Brock and Salk.
Mike Tirico, best in the business, just phenomenal.
And ditto back to you guys. I seriously do a bunch of these, and a lot of folks do a great job. You two as a combo in this show is really, really good. I hope the listeners enjoy and appreciate what they have, and I always love coming on with you guys. You're both wonderful, so thanks so much.
They don't. No, they just make fun of us all the time, so that's fine. Thank you for telling them that. Maybe somebody will finally convince them that that's true.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
So I formed Davis Law Group about 30 years ago, and I would get, the same questions from people about what to do in the case of an accident. Do you need a lawyer? To the point where I decided that I would at least write a book which would answer the common questions that I would receive as a lawyer. Once I wrote my first book, it proved to be hugely popular. I decided to write then a series of books in different accident cases so that we could really teach people about their rights, how to protect them, and how to decide on whether they need a lawyer and what lawyer to hire. I've found in my career that having a client that is educated and knowledgeable about their particular type of case really helps the client and also usually ends up making the case or the claim more successful. To get your free copy of any of my Washington accident books, visit WashingtonAccidentBooks.com.
Luxury awaits at Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel, where comfort meets elegance. It's Mike Salk here, and this summer you can experience breathtaking Cascade views, world-class dining, and of course the best entertainment. Elevate your next getaway by combining effortless style with the utmost in relaxation. The hotel opens this summer with deluxe king and 2 queen rooms, premiums, grand suites, signature suites, and the breathtaking views of the Cascades and the Snoqualmie Valley. For more details, go to snocasino.com. Seattle's closest is now Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel.
Jackson Hewitt wants you to save money on tax prep. We're saving money by having our intern rap in this commercial.
Don't stress, Jackson Hewitt's got expert tax prep, 149 or less. Yo, some tax guys lie about price. What? They got hidden fees, that ain't nice. Ain't nice. Don't ignore MC Kevin's rhyme, cause this deal's for a limited time. 149.
For tax prep that's $149 or less, hurry into Jackson Hewitt today.
No cap.
Limited time offer for new clients on federal returns. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com/149.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-838-6161. That's 800-838-6161. 800-838-6161.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter? Right? And the best part? They accept Discover. Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer. Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times. Right, so we shouldn't get the parachute pants? These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
Progressive knows you've got enough to worry about in life.
Hi, it's your life again. Feel like another year is just slipping away? Yeah, remember all those New Year's resolutions you made? You still haven't finished the first book. Just 19 more to go. I mean, if we're being honest, it wasn't a very realistic goal. Have you ever considered that you intentionally self-sabotage? So, what's that about?
So, let Progressive protect your home and auto, because you've got enough to worry about. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
The John Schneider Show.
Every Thursday until draft day on Wyman and Bob.
Listen live Thursdays at 4 p.m. or watch the interviews on the Seattle Sports YouTube page.
Hey, Brock Ewart here. And as a former college and professional player and quarterback in particular, the years of wear and tear and some of those hits left my knee and some of my body in some constant pain. On and off the field, the weight room, all those heavy squats and all of it. In fact, my knee was really bothering me last year. That's why I decided to try stem cell injection therapy with Dr. Daniel Nelson at Eastside Pain and Regenerative Medicine over there in Kirkland. And really, it was an awesome decision. With Dr. Dan, the procedure itself was so quick and easy. In and out, same day. Next day, I'm out watching football practice, a baseball game, and the staff was absolutely A+. And my knee, well, it's a whole lot better now, and I'm back to squatting and enjoying a much better quality of life. Call Dr. Daniel Nelson, MD, with Eastside Pain and Regenerative Medicine. Over 30 years of experience. No one, and I mean no one, has more experience in pain medicine techniques. You can reach him at 425-823-4000. That's 425-823-4000 or danielnelsonmd.com.
ZipRecruiter is the place. ZipRecruiter is the place for talented teachers, savvy software developers, and master mixologists. ZipRecruiter is the place where you meet all these people and more. That's because ZipRecruiter is the place for job seekers who are looking for new opportunities. In fact, ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day, so you can find the right candidates right away. It's no wonder that ZipRecruiter is the place for skilled skydiving instructors, accomplished airbrush artists, and proficient pediatricians. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter to hire, you're missing out. ZipRecruiter is the place that's so confident it can make your hiring easier that it lets you try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. So if you want the right candidates for all your roles, ZipRecruiter is the place to go. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
This hour is serviced by the Lee Johnson Auto family.
Scanning the airwaves for the most interesting and entertaining stories of the day. Sweeping the dial. Every afternoon at 4:45 with Wyman and Bob.
Presented by Silver Reef Casino Resort.
Well, this might explain why he's been ducking us lately. Our guy Greg Amsinger from MLB Network, he was out here. He was out in Peoria with Yonder Alonso. MLB Network's doing their 30 clubs in 15 days. They were out here on Saturday. So in talking about the Mariners, Amsinger makes a bold prediction about the season, and not in a good way.
Every year I say they're going to be in the playoffs, and every year they're just short. So I'm going to mix it up. And before I give you this prediction, I love the Mariners, man. I'm not from Seattle, but I love the Mariners. Do I not love? We were at the Extra Innings Festival here in Arizona just yesterday.
That's right.
What was I wearing?
You were wearing a Seattle Mariners jersey.
The offense is still an issue, and because they didn't go get a bat, they're not going to finish in first, second, third, or fourth. I'm just going to say it that way.
Ouch.
Wait, what? What? They're not going to finish in first, second, third, or fourth?
In the division.
So they're going to be last?
As Greg Amsinger said.
Why does he hate us? Well, I like how he prefaces it with, what was I wearing? I was wearing the Mariners. I love the Mariners. I'm going to go ahead and disagree. We still love Greg. He's entitled to his opinion, and maybe it is why he hasn't come on lately. He didn't want to spread that bad news because he's usually an up guy and very positive when we talk to him. But I would put money on the fact that he'll be wrong about that. I would like to bet him. A gentleman's bet. It doesn't have to be money. A gentleman's bet. They will not finish fifth.
Well, I think by the end of the year, the on-base percentage was up in the teens. But for most of the year, majority of the year, they were 25 through 30. Reminder, 30 teams. They were number 30 in a lot of different categories offensively.
That's not good, right?
It's not good, but, if they can sort of mimic what they did with on-base percentage, that's all we're looking for. Middle of the road offense. I don't think that's too much
close
to ask
to it
for.
even. You could be a little below.
You could be like number 20.
Possibly. That would be worth a couple of games.
That might reflect, the game that they missed out on last year.
Sweeping the dial.
We've kind of thrown around a figure and tried to figure out what might Brock Purdy get. $50 million a year? Could he really get 60? Well, Adam Schefter is on with Pat McAfee, and he said that the Niners, instead of trying to do any of those, might just franchise tag Purdy twice.
And Brock Purdy obviously is going to want to get a deal done, and the Niners would want to get a deal done. But the issue is he's scheduled to make $5.1 million this season. He then could be tagged after next season for $41 million. He could be tagged the season after that for $51 million. So if you don't get a deal done with Brock Purdy and you're the Niners, and again, this would not be what Brock Purdy would want, I would imagine. Certainly not what his agent would want. He would play for $5 million this year, $41 next year, $51 the year after. You're talking about $97+ million over the next 3 years, which for most people would be incredible money, but not for a quarterback who's waiting to get paid.
I wonder if there's some kind of a discount for your agent fee for that kind of tag, because it's not like he arrived at that number or negotiated it, the franchise tag. But I mean, that's something that we saw Kirk Cousins do. He's done very well financially.
Yeah, and I don't think he'd be crying over it in the sense of how am I going to feed my family by any stretch. I would say that I don't know why. I mean, I get on the surface why the Niners would want to do it. They're also a team that has big contracts. They did get rid of the Debo contract. But when they do that, you can't spread it out. So that's $41 million against the cap that year. Then it's $51 million against the cap the next year. So it doesn't necessarily benefit them in a way an extension would, where they spread it all out and it's a much less punitive cap hit. So it sort of behooves both parties to work out an extension. Now, we have said this a million times. We don't know what Purdy's his reps are asking for and how far apart they may be, but it really benefits both sides to get an extension worked out where they can then manipulate it and work their salary cap voodoo and call this a bonus and this gets pushed over here and his cap hit turns into $1.50. You know,
it's a good point what you bring out there, because that is interesting about the cap. But I'm just going to be very curious to see if he is that guy. Is he that guy in the NFL? I mean, is he going to be one of those top 10 guys? Because I don't know where we had him ranked this year. They didn't have a great year offensively like they have in years past. But, yeah, I mean, do you think Brock Purdy does he look to you like a top 10, top 12, maybe upper middle class?
He was top 3 the year before. So
yeah.
He's done it. He didn't do it this past year. He was good. He wasn't great. Right. So, yeah, what he ultimately settles into being, we'll find out.
Sweeping the dial.
This is an interesting conversation. It's slightly evolved, but kind of slightly looks worse. So Elliot Friedman, who's part of Sportsnet Canada's NHL coverage, was going in depth about the Kraken. They were talking about every team, and he was talking about them as the trade deadline was approaching. Now, this is before the Kraken trade today, so they got rid of more current help, and they're acquiring future help. They have 2 first-round picks now, and 2026 and 2027, but he was kind of breaking down how the Kraken need to finish in order to get some public momentum back on their side.
This trade deadline could be very interesting because I think Seattle has a big decision to make in overall franchise direction. It's been a hard year for them, and so I don't even think this is a trade deadline discussion. This is a philosophical discussion for them too. Where do they want to go? What you have to do for me, if you're Seattle, is you have to finish strong at home. You know, Gord Stellick's old saying, if you're going to stink on the road. I think that's very important right now. You have to give your fans your money's worth to the end of this season, and they played really hard and really well in beating Vancouver the other night. I look at them and say, finish strong, at least at home, and give some optimism and figure out your direction.
Yeah, we don't know if Ron Francis is on the hot seat, if they're going to be looking at a GM change. They traded Yanni Gourde, who's one of the leaders on that team. I don't know how fans feel about that. And there's a sense of apathy. I know the fans that go are very passionate about it, but it doesn't feel like, and it makes sense because they haven't been successful yet. They haven't grown that fan base. It hasn't expanded. There aren't calls to, talk more hockey. Yeah, you get it here and there, but there's not a ton of passion behind this team in the city yet. That one trip to the playoffs, and unfortunately it's gone the other way since.
What kind of a sense did you get, Lefko, when you were interviewing Jessica Campbell the other day? You had the inside scoop there.
The questions were not quite too hard-hitting when she was there
right?
to win Sports Story of the Year. But, yeah, the irony of what Elliot Friedman was saying is that they've kind of been bad at home recently. Yeah, that Vancouver win notwithstanding. They lost last night. They finished on a 3-game home losing streak, and then they didn't have a home game for a month. Now, the Four Nations and the All-Star break don't help that. But, yeah, when you don't win at home, then you're off for a long time, and now you're kind of middling towards the end, and you are sellers. They just sold. They said, hey, we are punting on this season. You do kind of wonder about Ron Francis if he's going to be able to oversee all of this because they have a lot of picks, but when do these picks kind of come to fruition? So 2026 first rounder, okay, well, when's that going to make an impact? 2027 first rounder, is Ron Francis going to be here if they keep having seasons like this? So yeah, they're in flux right now.
Yeah, text in if you're a big time Kraken fan, how you feel about that trade, seeing Gordon Bjorkstrand shipped off. Right? You know, are there a couple of fan favorites, or are people upset, or did it make sense to them? If you're a big time Kraken fan, give us a text at 866-979-3776, powered by Mac and Jack's Brewing Company. Tell us how you feel about that.
Well, hopefully the Mariners don't stink at home because the Kraken does, and the Seahawks. Seahawks were what, 3-6?
3-5.
3-5.
3-6. I think you're right. 3-6. Yeah, not good. Yeah, you got to give your hometown fans something to get excited about. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. All right, coming up, there was a potential major upheaval to the Seahawks roster earlier. We're going to get into that conversation next with Wyman and Bob live in Peoria, Arizona. It is Seattle Sports on 710.
The John Schneider Show.
Every Thursday until draft day on Wyman and Bob.
We are now speaking with the architect of your Seattle Seahawks.
How we doing, football fans? With Seahawks President of Football Operations and General Manager Jon Schneider.
My job is to do what's best for the Seattle Seahawks organization. I have to keep wrapping my mind around that and trying to communicate effectively.
Listen live Thursdays at 4 p.m. or watch the interviews on the Seattle Sports YouTube page.
What's the standard the Seahawks defense needs to be held to under Mike McDonald?
The Jon Schneider Show.
Brought to you by Pizza Hut.
Hey, it's Mike Salk here. Let's talk stats. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the state of Washington ranks number 4 in the whole U.S. for the highest concentration of roofers. That's literally thousands of roofers to choose from. So how do you know how to pick the right one for your home? Well, you start by eliminating those who aren't GAF Master Elite certified. That's about 97% of all roofers. So now you're down to the elite 3%. How many have over 35 years of experience? How many utilize the catch-all system to keep yards and driveways clear of any debris? Family-owned with local roots and have the stamp of approval from the Mike Salk household? Well, that leaves you with just one, the roofing company you can trust. That's Riverside Roofing. In a sea of thousands of competitors, Riverside Roofing continues to stand out. And guess what? They have openings this winter for your roof project. So have them out to your house this week. Call them at 425-949-8252 or go to riversideroofingllc.com. They are the roofing company you can trust.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. 2 lines of unlimited for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings compared to Verizon and AT&T. But don't just take our word for it.
It's not just the savings that are great with our T-Mobile plan. There's all this value from all these other things that T-Mobile offers.
T-Mobile has been such a savings for us.
We love it. Switch today and get 2 free 5G phones like the Motorola Edge with Turbo Power charging that gives you power for the day in just 15 minutes. And customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Go to T-Mobile.com/choice55 to learn more. With AutoPay plus taxes and fees, plus $5 per line without AutoPay. Debit or bank account required. 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. Motorola Edge on us with 24 monthly bill credits and new line for well-qualified customers, plus tax and $35 per line connection charge. See details at T-Mobile.com. Motorola Edge requires 68-watt charger. Charger sold separately. Actual performance will vary based on usage and configuration.
Spring is finally here, and so are spring projects. So get them started at Harbor Freight's parking lot sale. This weekend, save on products like pressure washers for $69.99, 42-inch roller cabinets for under $500, plus 30% off Hercules corded power tools. Whatever you do, do it for less at Harbor Freight. Valid until 3/9/25 while supplies last. Limitations apply, so spring in before it's over.
Ooh, ma.
What was that?
That is business phone bliss with the Ooma cloud phone system. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs.
You sound very...
Calm? I am. Ooma has everything I need to run my business more efficiently, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Nice. Find your business calm at ooma.com/radio.
Celebrate the best of the best in Washington sports with the 90th annual Sports Star of the Year Award Show on King 5. Legendary athletes and today's stars come together for one spectacular night of sports accolades. Hosted by Steve Rabel and Jordan Babineau, featuring Kenny Mayne, Cal Raleigh, Fred Couples, Jessica Campbell, Gary Payton, and Marshawn Lynch. The 90th annual Sports Star of the Year Award Show presented by Microsoft. Saturday, March 8th at 7 on King 5. Visit seattlesports.org for more.
Four down territory, going inside the game with Michael Bumpus.
I like this. More quarterbacks should start doing this.
Every day at 11:15 and 1:15 on Bumpin' Stacy.
Over the past decade, Washington state politicians have doubled state spending with no improvements to the issues we care about. Instead, we now have the third highest cost of living in the nation and a $12 billion deficit. It's time to tell legislators we need better results, not bigger taxes. Act now at affordablewashington.org. Paid for by people for an affordable Washington and Olympia, Washington. Top 5 donors are Washington Alliance for Competitive Economy, Microsoft, Madrona, T-Mobile, and Alaska Air.
Four down territory, going inside the game with former Cougs and Seahawks wide receiver Michael Bumpus.
What part of football has changed, and do you like it?
2-point conversions. Like, we are chasing points. The game has changed. 2-point conversions and fourth downs. So we're seeing coaches dive into the data like a lot of people do with baseball. And I like it, and it is weird at the same time because I'm not used to seeing these fourth down conversions or attempts and these 2-point conversions.
Four down territory, every day at 11:15 and 1:15 on Bumpin' Stacy.
Someone had a birthday.
Yep, 50. Can't believe it.
50 years of wisdom.
Great segue. We have health news, a CDC update.
Pneumococcal vaccination is now recommended for adults 50 or older. Says here, we're over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50.
I don't love those odds.
Same. Look what I found. Pfizer's Prevnar 20 is proven to help protect adults against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease in just 1 dose. And millions have already gotten it.
Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you have a severe allergy to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may lower your response. Common side effects include injection site pain and swelling, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138. Visit Prevnar20.com or talk to your doctor or pharmacist.
I'm on Prevnar20.com now, scheduling my appointment.
Good idea. And happy 50th.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, you're listening to Wyman and Bob.
Weekdays, 2 to 7.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Coming up, we're going to turn you over to Mariners spring training baseball. They're on the road against the Kansas City Royals, so we'll turn you over to that coming up at the top of the hour. But for those of you that may have missed it, maybe people have been in meetings all day at work or running around and didn't catch the news about the Seahawks. A couple of big stories. The big one that we knew was coming, but it's still a big deal, is they officially released Tyler Lockett. After a decade as just an absolute stud of a person, a stud of a player, second best, if we're just talking stats, second best receiver in the history of this organization, only trailing Steve Largent. He was just a home run. That's all I could call him. And we'll talk to John Schneider tomorrow about this. And I would assume he takes a tremendous amount of pride, and it was probably really, even though it was inevitable, and we kept talking about it like it's going to happen, it's just a matter of when. I bet that was hard for him.
Yeah, I'm sure it was, but I think they have a great relationship. And by the way, he, like Largent, became just a gem of a person.
Well, and the funny thing is, they're from the same exact hometown, and they have the same birthday.
That's so crazy.
And he's won the Largent Award, I think, multiple times.
Yeah, he
it's
has.
Just so that connection and they're 1 and 2 in the history. That's a weird thing.
Yeah, I think it's KJ and well, maybe
Bobby?
but Max Strong has won the Largent Award multiple
right.
times. And then, so, but as far as 10 years, Bobby, KJ, those kind of guys. So, yeah, pretty unbelievable. By the way, somebody texted in, and they are correct, that the crazy snap over Russell Wilson's head in the playoff game against the Vikings where it was really cold, and Russ puts his mouthpiece in while he runs back, picks up the ball, and throws it to Tyler Lockett for a first down. But Locke was he just always made plays.
Always there, always open. Just his name is going to be up in that Ring of Honor. Yeah. You're going to see his name up there. He will be celebrated when his career does come to an end, because it does appear that he's fully intent on playing again. And wherever that is, I will root for him. Whether that's with the Raiders or whoever that may be, I will be rooting for Tyler Lockett. So it would be kind of cool to see him and Pete together again.
Yeah. Oh, and for Pete, I mean, what a great guy to sort of set an example of what our culture is going to be. Here, it's this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no question.
Yeah, and it just, that would be a lot of fun. Plus, it'd make it easier instead of rooting for three different situations, the Seahawks, the Pete situation, and the Tyler situation. Then it's just two.
That's right.
It's a lot less to keep track of. So we'll see where he ultimately ends up, but we'll obviously root for him. Now, unfortunately, the other bit of news surrounding the Seahawks roster, in case you missed this, is DK apparently has officially requested a trade. And the bad part about that, outside of just the idea that he doesn't seem to want to be here anymore, is that news came out about 30 minutes after the Tyler Lockett news, where the Seahawks and everybody were trying to celebrate the career and Tyler and what he meant to the city, and that kind of got turned upside down by the news that DK wants out. And we could speculate a million different ways as to why the timing was what it was, and if DK even knew it was happening, if his reps just absolutely dropped the ball, or who knows. And then the other part of the speculation, why is he requesting a trade? Is it strictly money? Is it, hey, I don't like the idea of this new offense. I mean, who knows? It could be a million different things.
Right. And, you said this earlier, that news travels fast these days. So you had 30 minutes, but to pull back and say, hey, let's wait and let Tyler have his moment and things like that, that was kind of meant to be a celebration for Tyler Lockett. Maybe there was something where they had already, pre-released it or whatever. I don't know. But we'll see what happens. I'm very curious, though. Very curious, because it just doesn't seem like something that DK would do.
No,
especially, and you want to say, okay, he's better about the franchise, et cetera, the offense, not getting him the ball, this, that, and the other. His love for Tyler Lockett was, I think he's probably his favorite teammate.
Yeah, and we've never heard an ill word about him in the locker room, that there's issues with teammates or even coaches. I mean, it's just, it kind of went against everything we knew about him and what we've witnessed, and his interaction with some of the kids at training camp, and he just seems to be a very genuine, conscientious guy. Yeah, he's got anger on the field. It's generally directed at the opposition, as we've talked about. But, yeah, so this felt out of place. This felt like, what are you doing, man? I'd love to talk to him. Obviously we can't, but it'd be great to go, how did that take me through this? Did your reps have this in the pipeline, and they told Adam Schefter, okay, you can run with this tomorrow, not knowing that the Tyler news was coming out, and it was too late to pull it, or what? I don't understand how that happened.
Yeah, well, and the other thing, too, you talked about, or as the professor would say, also, too, we've been talking about the professor a lot lately, God bless him. But, all of his ire was directed at the other team. There was never a time where he was complaining about lack of targets. And, in the What If Wednesday that Mike had earlier, that target thing, it was pretty bad for, I think it was more games than he played in the first half.
20 fewer targets.
So
in one more game.
Yeah, it was 41 and
61. 61 in the first 7 games, 41 in the last 8.
That's the one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, 41 in the last 8. That's 5 targets, a little bit more than that per game. That's not great. And like I said, lots of times I saw him singled up, but maybe it has to do with what he perceives to be the new offense, that he sees that he's not going to be getting the ball.
Yeah, and then you're left to wonder, all right, so what's the return going to be on him now that the sort of leverage is, the Seahawks could, even if this was going on behind the scenes, it wasn't out there publicly, where the Seahawks could have put up the front to other teams like, look, you're going to have to blow our doors off if you want this guy. He's a huge part of what we do here. versus now it's out there. He wants out. So other teams are going to be looking at it as, well, you got a disgruntled player there. That takes away their leverage. Maybe they would have been looking at a late first or a second, and now they're going, well, they got to get rid of him, and they don't want to pay him, and he wants out, so let's offer him a 4.
Yeah, we'll talk to John tomorrow. I cannot imagine anyone that is happy with the way that went down.
Yeah.
We'll speak to the guy, John Schneider. I mean, he's not going to say anything. He never says anything negative about any players, and it's honest. I mean, he honestly just, don't give me your stupid hook thing.
He gave you something else, too.
Oh, I see. Oh, because he's not on camera.
That's exactly right. Said you're number 1.
Very sly.
All right. Yeah, we'll talk to John Schneider tomorrow. We're going to turn you over to Mariners Royals here coming up. Our thanks to Bryan Woo, Mitch Garver, and Jon Morosi. Anything you missed, you can find on the podcast page at seattlesports.com. We'll talk to you tomorrow with Wyman and Bob, Seattle Sports on 710.
The Jon Schneider Show.
Every Thursday until draft day on Wyman and Bob.
We are now speaking with the architect of your Seattle Seahawks.
How we doing, football fans?
With Seahawks President of Football Operations and General Manager Jon Schneider.
My job is to do what's best for the Seattle Seahawks organization. I have to keep wrapping my mind around that and trying to communicate effectively.
Listen live Thursdays at 4 p.m. or watch the interviews on the Seattle Sports YouTube page.
What's the standard the Seahawks defense needs to be held to under Mike McDonald?
The Jon Schneider Show.
Brought to you by Pizza Hut.
Let's go!
This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports. It's time to play ball.
Swing and a miss and a slider, strike 3.
Mariners Spring Training Baseball is brought to you by Muckleshoot Casino Resort, T-Mobile, Global Credit Union, and by your local steel dealer.
It's driven well, it's driven deep, and it's driven out of here.
Well, the Mariners get ready to take on the Royals under the lights here in Surprise. Cactus League Baseball continues. Night baseball. Chance to visit with a Mariner legend, Mr. Mariner Alvin Davis, now coaching in the Mariners system, taking care of the kids. AD, it's always great to see you. Had a great career. American League Rookie of the Year. Back in 1984, Mark Langston was the American League Rookie Pitcher of the Year. How much do you reflect and go back to 1984 and say, that was one heck of a season for myself and my teammate?
Yeah, Langley and his wife Michelle and my wife Kim and I had dinner the Monday before I came out here for spring training. And a lot of time when we get together, we end up reflecting. You might remember a couple of years ago, I think it's been almost 5 years ago, we did that RBI Club luncheon banquet, and we had a great time. And, we hoped that the folks in attendance had a great time, because Mark and I were certainly having a great time reflecting, going down memory lane. And, of course, as we get older, I think in some ways things get a little bit clearer as they get dimmer. But we get together and we spark each other's memories and have a great time.
It's great to have you in the system helping out the youngsters. What have you seen from the group of young hitters that are in spring training this year? There's Cole Young, who's going to be a heck of a player. Colt Emerson, I can go through a lot of them. Lazaro Montez. What stands out for you when you take a look at these kids?
Yeah, I think the talent is pretty obvious. It jumps out at you. Of all of our top kids, and there's another kid named Farmello who's not healthy right now, but he joins that list as well. And so just a ton of talent. I mean, the way the ball comes off of their bat is just amazing. And they're different personalities, and they're very, very young and learning. So, but all of them are very teachable. They're sponges when it comes to, just little tips and little guidance here or there. And, one of the things that we talk about on the player development side is our mission as a staff is to help our prospects become performers. And every player that enters that building is a prospect. And so just trying to help mentor them, trying to guide them, trying to help prepare them, this being spring training, for what lies ahead.
It's one thing to try to teach a kid how to hit a baseball, and they're all very talented. But what about the mental side of the game? What do you tell them? Because it's not easy. You're playing every day. The minor leagues, riding the buses. What do you tell these kids that that's just part of the journey?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. There are a lot of things, but when I think about something near the top of my list, which has been on my mind even today, is just mental resilience, and just building a competitive mindset. Because, you're right, Rick, that, when you're playing, especially since we were primarily talking about position players who we want to train to be able to post, and that means be in the lineup every day, be available every day, and develop that mental resilience that when they're coming to the ballpark every day, they have that mindset that they will do something to help the team win the ball game and something to help the team put runs on the board. And if you can build that resilience, it really helps shrink the gap between being a prospect and being a performer at the major league level.
Visiting with Mr. Mariner Alvin Davis, Mariners and the Royals tonight here in Surprise. Alvin, you've been with the organization for such a long time now. As a coach, what's it like for you to see not only the pitchers come through the organization that you saw, but the hitters you worked with, like Cal Raleigh? Does it make you feel like a proud papa?
It does. Just, again, kind of hitting on that theme, to watch Cal transition from being a young guy in player development to now being a proven major league performer and one of a kind in that he won a platinum glove last year. So he's the first in the history of our organization, and my hat off to him. One thing that I love about Cal is his work ethic. He's put in the work, and he's a grinder. He truly is, and in some ways he's kind of old school, and that as well as I do, Rick. He goes out there and he posts, and he's not always feeling great. There's a lot of times where, he's got to get into the training room or visit with the doc to get ready to play that day. But he just has that old school mentality of if I'm a...
To take on the Royals, we'll be back and have a look at tonight's starting lineups from Surprise, Arizona, right after this timeout.
Calling all pickleballers, Champions of Change and Safeway announced a multi-city pickleball tournament, including celebrity games with Seahawk legends Doug Baldwin, Mike Bennett, Cliff Averill, and more. In collaboration, Nourishing Champions campaign will be raising awareness and accepting donations to provide nutritious foods for student athletes in under-resourced high schools. You can help by donating at your local Safeway checkout. Open to all. The tournaments are in Seattle, Lacey, and Spokane. Register today at championsofchangefoundation.org/pickleball.
At Global Credit Union, members benefit, like free checking, because why pay a fee to spend your own money? Early payday, your paycheck up to 3 days early with direct deposit. And member care, with branches near you and a 24/7, 365 U.S.-based call center where you'll always talk to a real person. Free checking and no monthly maintenance fee only apply to core checking accounts. Other fees may apply. Join us at globalcu.org. Global Credit Union, proud partner of Seattle Mariners Radio.
You're listening to Spring Training Baseball on the Global Credit Union Mariners Radio Network.
Hey, it's great to have you with us here from Surprise as the Seattle Mariners will take on the Kansas City Royals tonight as lineups being exchanged right now at home plate. So why don't we take a look at the starting lineup for the Mariners, brought to you by Global Credit Union, where members enjoy benefits like 24/7, 365 personal service, no fee accounts. Learn more at globalcu.org. Global Credit Union, strength in members. A lot of the A lineup on both sides. Both teams had an off day yesterday, so they're coming back with a lot of starters today. And for the Mariners, it looks like this. Victor Robles at the top. He's in right field leading off. Julio batting second. He's in center. Cal Raleigh batting third. He's catching. Randy Arozarena, the DH, will follow. Luke Raley in left field today. Donovan Solano will be the third baseman. Rowdy Tellez at first base. J.P. Crawford will be the shortstop. Ryan Bliss will be at second base. And this is going to be a very fun pitching day for the Mariners. Bryce Miller will get the start for the Mariners. And then we see a lot of the A bullpen scheduled to go. We should see Snyder, Saucedo, Spire, Thornton, Munoz, and perhaps Brandon Garcia as well along the way. So it should be a really fun one today on the road against Kansas City. Well, we're just about ready for this one. We'll come back. We have first pitch and play-by-play coming your way right after this.
So here's the deal with Mariners season ticket memberships. You've got two great options. With a Flex membership, you have the freedom to pick your seats, games, and number of tickets whenever you want. Or If you like knowing where you're sitting all season long, go with a reserved membership and lock in your seats from day one. Both plans get you access to exclusive pre-sales, year-round discounts, special event invites, and more. Check it out at Mariners.com/25.
Cal Raleigh wins it in the 10th inning for the Mariners.
Annual Boost membership is better than ever. Save up to $1,100 each year on gas, groceries, delivery fees, and streaming options. With double fuel points, unlimited free delivery, and exclusive savings for members, there's so much to love about Boost. Sign up for a Boost membership today. Fred Meyer, fresh for everyone. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
You're listening to Spring Training Baseball on the Global Credit Union Mariners Radio Network.
Well, the Royals have taken the field. We're under the lights here in Surprise. The Mariners and the Royals. Gary Hill alongside Rick Riz. It's the Muckleshoot pregame show, the biggest and best in the Northwest. Rick, this should be a fun one. A lot of the A side for both teams. Witt's in the lineup for Kansas City. A lot of the regulars in there for the Mariners, including a lot of the pitchers we expect to break camp on opening